It's so funny. I thought that I didn't do the delay again, so I hit start and then I was about to hit stop. But then it said, "Are you sure you want to stop and discard the delay?" And I didn't, obviously. So we're good. So welcome everybody to Battle of the Beehive 6. Are you still finishing eating, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, I am here. J2 Digital, or ripping and tearing, or I don't know, whatever else. And then with me, we've got the Lone Star Ranger Dizzy.
Hello.
Dizzy, why don't you explain to the folks back home a little bit about yourself?
I play StarCraft like everyone else.
That's the kind of energy you want. So, yeah, just like Dizzy, I play StarCraft as well. Obviously, we all do. We have for years. Grew up on it. And play fastest possible map. We play 3v3s, but it gets brought up a lot. It's hard to herd cats, so we haven't done a 3v3 tournament yet. And we have now done 5, starting on our 6th Battle of the Beehive. It is a 1v1 King of the Hill, fastest possible map. It is the Korean map, and it has some landable ledges. And to some people's dismay, I wanted to bring it up last night, but as soon as we started talking about Battle of the Beehive again, I was just thinking, 2 tanks! 2 goddamn tanks! And yeah, we have, to start, Gomdor. He has won 10, and then in parentheses, 11 times. And he is the first Terran and first player ever to clean sweep a Battle of the Beehive tournament. And I guess we'll see how he does today. A little bit different today than yesterday on our lineup, is we had, I guess it's 4 signups, and then we had 1 drop out. So unfortunately, GG Easy had to work, just couldn't play. And then every time I checked the Google Doc, we had just a new signup, which is super badass. And I think last night we did talk about Hydra and Terror, but maybe we didn't. If we didn't, surprise! We've got more. And we just talked about this also just before we went live. It goes without saying, well, it goes with saying, I was going to say that wrong, where we had a $50 donation last night, and it gets convoluted, and this is why I said it's probably not even worth mentioning, but I'm going to anyway. So we had a $50 donation, and it was from Rob, which is super badass. And I asked him if he wanted it towards this prize pool or the next prize pool, and he said just to do whatever you want with it. So I am going to take that $50 and I'm going to put it towards the next Battle of the Beehive. And then this morning, right before we started streaming, we had another $50 tip from an anonymous donor named Dizzy Wee, and he put in $50 for this one. So this payout is still going to be upgraded from 150 to 200. So each win is now worth $20 instead of 15, right? Or did I do that wrong? Whatever it is, however we divide it out, the payout's now 200. I didn't. This is a great way to start. Anyway, yeah, right. I mean, if I were to divide 200 by 10, if we do make it to 10 matches, then it's $20. So. And then with that being said, I mean, how are you feeling today, dude? You seem well rested, very excited.
Yes, very much so. It looks like our first player is now LML as opposed to GG Easy. And both players, Gomdor and LML, are both ready. So I think we're good to start off whenever you are.
Well, hell yeah. I will join right now. Yeah, I did mention it. I kind of glossed over it pretty quickly, but it is Red LML and Gomdor, our reigning king. Dude, after last night, I'm just that much more excited for today. And normally when I'd hear someone say that, that sounds pretty cliche, but we're still a small operation. And I said again yesterday, this is one of the few things I get to look forward to. And so I legitimately mean it when I say that. All right, that being said, in the even I got the jitters. All right, in the bottom left, it is our reigning king times 10/11. It is Gomdor. I was waiting for you to do that. So the horn is really loud and you're really quiet. So either you gotta talk louder, or you need to talk louder and I can turn down that source. Anyway, in the top left, he is random, and he randomed as Protoss. It's Red LML. So are you going to do it?
Only for the king.
Okay. I don't know much about... I'm going to call him Red. How about that?
I think that's fine, although I do think Red is the clan name.
Oh, yeah, you're right. LML is what I should do. I'll just say LML. You know, it's so funny. If I were just reading his name, I would know that. But since the pressure's on, gotta forget. All right. With him...
but LML, from what I know, he's a ladder player. So he may not be completely adept at fastest. But from what we've seen from ladder players that played in this series is that they have a good understanding or a good execution on their mechanics. It's just the meta that they seem to fall behind on. But I'm sure he's done his research, and he may have hopefully watched some previous videos, so hopefully we can see some enlightening play.
I agree. I was going to start off a little bit different, where I don't know anything about him. I've seen the Red Clan here and there, and he put in his sign-up sheet that he's from Germany, so I think that's cool. We've had a pretty even split. Like, there's usually one or two people from Canada, there's a couple people from Germany, and then obviously maybe like one or two from the US, and then Korea, and of course our previous longest running king of Russia. But it's for me, learning about the community in this way has been really cool to see where a lot of active players have, like, or where they are currently, or where the scene has really stayed alive. And with this, it is pretty interesting. I like his approach. It was just straight Nexus first, then into a few gateways. They both scout each other really fast too. And we talked about it last night, but Gomdor seems to be a little bit of a reactive player in a good way. Sometimes when people say that, it sometimes isn't meant in a more positive way, but you said it last night, so I'm just going to quote you, where he's confident that he can just about outplay anybody, and he does play with some of the best, fastest players. So he also went for I'd say a pretty quick CC, and then just up to 3 racks. Oh my gosh.
Great initial catch right there.
Yeah.
So this is the one part where you see this with the ladder players coming over, is that generally with the Nexus first opening, you do go for a Forge first opening. But in this case, obviously we see 4 gateway opening, but you also saw him move his zealots and actually micro them while attacking. So you sort of got to see in terms of mechanics and micro, what he's capable of, but potentially the meta, there's sort of a difference there. Going for a fast 1 gas opening, so I'm not sure if he's gonna opt for something like a speed lock timing, but this is the part where, because he doesn't play ladder, I'm not sure, or I'm sorry, because he doesn't play fastest, I'm not sure if he is going for some sort of ladder build and just going on the fly, or if he actually has something planned out.
Well, it sounds like he. I know when I don't recognize a player, that's me, not the player. So, you knowing a little bit about him, and even him just being in a clan, I would assume, especially since there is, depending on when you play and how many times you get to play, there is a decent chunk of change on the line, and so I bet you that he prepped for this. And I do like how he went for a more aggressive opening. I like how he opened up with Zealots and he didn't just do a Forge. And yeah, I mean, they are just going to go into the mid game, probably the same as always. Seems like Gomdor really hasn't been stressed too much. I liked how, again, just bringing up him just reacting to what he needs to do instead of just sticking to like a really, I don't know if I want to just say strict or ingrained plan. When he saw that there's a bunch of Zealots, he immediately threw up the 2 supply depots, had the bunker, and now that he's got his academy, a few medics, he's doing that typical Terran move out. So it's interesting that even right now, the map control kind of goes to him, and now he's going to try to keep the Protoss. I don't think he's actually going to attack, but it is about like kind of keeping him honest, right? And like if he didn't keep building Zealots and defense at the front of his base or whatever, maybe he could do more significant damage. He's at least got a check.
Right, if he doesn't react, he could potentially just snipe down 2 cannons without the Zealot moving forward, but I'm sure LML will be on his toes. We see Gomdor commonly, from what we've seen so far from his past games, is that he prefers the very bio-heavy style where he gets the tech going 3 racks, 1 fag, 1 port, and then he'll eventually expand up to 8 racks and then start putting down factories, move up to 3 port, and then potentially 6 port, and then stay on that sort of style where he opts for more of a bio-heavy play to defend against drops and defend against the harassment before moving out with his maxed out 3-3 army. It does seem like he's transitioning to that kind of style of play. So we'll see how LML decides to respond. He's going for a very gateway heavy transition. I would like to see him throw down a 3rd Nexus to bolster his pro production, and then also potentially throw down a few more robotics facility, because right now, with Gomdor being left untouched, there's really no advantage we can say that LML has right now.
Yeah, if anything, with Gomdor going up to 3 CCs, the advantage, not immediately, but will soon go to him because his economy, which Fastest is all about, his economy is just going to be that much greater. And oh no, it's the return of the tanks. Those 2 tanks. Oh man, I know exactly where they're going. And if LML's not ready for it, this is going to be pain. Oh my gosh.
I think he barely just didn't see the dropship, so hopefully he reacts to it with that spotter pylon, but he only has 2 Dragoons back at home.
The scan is perfect. He's going to tank a little bit with his dropship. He might get all the probes right here.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
27 and 9. I got stuck on the freaking dropship for a second, but that was everything. That was so clean. Dangerous. So, Protoss is behind right now, and I thought it was interesting that he put a bunch of pylons behind his Nexus. I've never seen anyone do that before. And again, it's probably just a leftover from being a ladder player, not to use that as a crutch too much. Dude, I had so much to say before, and it definitely makes sense that he would go for a siege tank drop off the bat, and it really is unfortunate that the probe was just half a second or a second just too late off to the side, so it snuck right in. I wonder if he's going to repair that dropship. You don't really see a lot of people do that, but he might. If he's going to go for another drop, he needs to. He is going up to those barracks like you were saying, and this is the thing I was going to say before until the game totally transformed, was that I love the biotank style, and I know it's really dangerous because it's really weak to just about everything. Like, as Protoss gets going, Storm and Reavers and just everything, even like getting one shot from DTs if you don't have scans, which by the way, he did scan everything, so he sees that the Templar Archive is up, he sees all the tech essentially, and Protoss is getting that 3rd Nexus.
You see him right now just struggling to squeeze out the buildings and units right now for LML. I mean, this is big for regardless of the race, but especially for Protoss where everything is so expensive. Losing all your probes is such a huge blow. And you're right, he did try to get that probe, and he's done it now, where he tries to get spotter pylons and tries to get units out, so that he has scouting intel. But right, he just barely missed that timing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It seems like he's gonna try and opt for just the typical storm drop play, where he has his robotics facility or robotics support bay, probably upgrading speed, and we should see some high templars come out soon, hopefully. But um, based on what we've seen so far from Gomdor, he defends against that pretty well. I don't think we've seen anyone get a clean storm off on him yet, but who knows if that'll change this game.
That's true. I'd have to go back and watch the VODs and really see if anyone. I don't think anyone's got like a full, all of his SCVs on his economy. There's been like a lot of drops and Reaver drops, or maybe they get a little bit or portions, but never like what you see in some of my games where you just look back and all your workers are gone. You're like, well, that happened.
A nice
That's
little
a thing.
present. A nice little present we're getting is a covert ops and Gomdor space. So
No way.
maybe we'll see maybe we'll see a nuclear silo, or maybe we'll see a lockdown play on the shuttle. Who knows? Right now he's putting up his E-base for spotting. He knows that this is the timing for when drops are supposed to come based on what he's seen so far. So just great clean play so far from Gomdor, really. And I mean, he's ahead by 40 supplies, so realistically he could move out and push for the win, I think. But I'm sure he's just playing it safe. He knows that he can just wait. And judging by how he's throwing down 2 CCs
Oh my gosh.
next to the factories, I actually think he is going to go for nukes.
I was hoping that it was lockdown because we don't see nukes a lot, but we never, ever, ever see lockdown. I do think after he got those probes, he hasn't been touched at home. He's maxed, essentially, right? And he is so entrenched at his choke. Then he's got vision right where he needs it. Oh my gosh, the observer might actually see him going for nukes. Oh my gosh, he sees the extra CCs, but he needs to go over to the left a little bit. He sees the ghost. He sees, oh, it's mass ghost.
Oh man.
He knows. Obviously, he's known for like 5 minutes, but he's totally stunting.
Right. I wonder if that is currently just sight range or if that's lockdown, depending. They both upgrade pretty quickly, thankfully.
Might be close.
So,
if he's gonna go for nukes. But
there's
right.
no nuclear silo yet, but
Yeah, none building.
judging by how he made a lot of ghosts, I think he's just looking to lock down or just looking to attack with the ghosts. But we'll see how his engagement goes for LML. He thankfully does have units to meet him in the middle with some AoE. I would say he would want to wait on the full arch, but let's see how these Reaver... Oh, the Reaver got picked off immediately. The Storm.
Storm's decent. I knew.
Decent Storm. And meanwhile, we have a tank drop going in. Let's see how his pull is.
Much better. He at least got 2 away.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now
still
his
lost
bio is just moving up. It's pretty naked, and it could honestly be taken out by this gateway force right here, if it's not reinforced with the tanks. But I think Gomdor is looking to sort of get that ghost in there potentially.
Yeah,
Oh, we see the lockdowns. There we go.
So I knew. So the army is gonna get pinched, and he is gonna clean it up. So not a very efficient trade for sure, but he's got a 4K bank. They're just now even on supply, and Gomdor can rebuild it with whatever he wants. He can sneak these CCs out. It looks like he's gonna use them for vision, but he could land them next to his base and build nuclear silos. And oh, dude, I was gonna mention earlier, he's not even, now he's stimming. His first push out,
If he's not careful with this, if he's not careful with this engagement, he may actually lose this battle right here. Not to say he's gonna lose the game, but that was sort of sloppy by Gomdor. I wonder if he just thought that he could A move, but LML's macro is on point.
What's happening? He's not at risk, but he's lost 2K of his bank, and he's still being held somewhat at his choke. So he's not like at risk, but he might have been on vacation a little too fast. This is something I would do. I'd get in one good position, and I'd be like, bah, F it. But then he's fine. He's going to bring it back. Like, he still has a gigantic lead. He's already maxed again. It's just funny. I can relate to that. It's like, dude, if you're not careful, that was close for a second. If he kept trading armies like that, scary.
This kind of army, though, is a little reliant on the Marines, so a couple good storms could push this army back. So while LML is starved for money, it's not right now dire yet, I would say. Of course, Gomdor can continue to follow up for pretty much at this point forever. So if LML can stabilize, I think he can hold on, but it's just a matter of how good his storms can be.
I do wish. So I know not all of the 200 supply is here, but he is still just consistently maxed. If he had maybe just dripped those DTs in, he could kind of whittle away as the storms ran out. Because I like the idea of DTs, because he saw that there wasn't a science vessel with his army. But there it is, GG.
Unfortunately, he also tried to go for a drop at 7, but he sort of ran into turrets. There was a slight opening within the Terran base where there was no turrets like up against the wall, but I think generally most Protosses don't offer that. But good game. LML had I think the right idea. The initial tank drop, of course, sort of changed the tide, and it was sort of tough coming back from that.
Yeah, that initial. So it really. I know it's not like always that simple, and Gomdor did get a little carried away maybe with that first one. Like, just Terran didn't take any damage at all, and Protoss lost all of his probes at the beginning. So that does spell for disaster, and I could see why he went for Mouse Ghost for a second there. But I agree with you. I think that the idea was there. I like how he was more aggressive with the Zealots at the beginning of the game. There's a few, I think, right ideas, even having the DTs there and kind of catching Terran as Terran was coming out, so the arc was on his side, I also think is really good. It's just that probe being just a little late just set the tone for everything after that. But good game. The king continues.
Right. I think judging by how he was going to, he knew what was potentially coming. I don't know if he just assumed because he didn't see anything, he could sort of get comfortable. But the issue with going for gateway opening is that if you're not going to go for a bust with all of those gateways, you're sort of not doing anything to threaten or hurt the Terran, which really in any setting, whether it be ladder or fastest, I mean, you don't want to just leave Terran alone.
Mm-hmm.
So there was really nothing to endanger the Terran, which let him get comfortable, gave him the freedom to drop 2 tanks. I think if he had threatened the poke, it could have delayed the drop a little bit more. But there was sort of no poke. There was really no threat from the Protoss.
Right. And I could see why, if like you were to lose all of your probes, why you would go in a more defensive posture. But then it does, if you are going to do that, then instead of just one Nexus, maybe build 2 or something. Like when I watch really good streamers play and they kind of get awed like that, I will see them throw even sometimes a Nexus by their gateways, and that might sound ridiculous, but you really got to get cranking again, and then you really have to, like, he could have put not cannons right outside of Terran's base because the siege tanks were there, but he could have put cannons in the middle of the map. There's things that you can do to really slow Terran's push down as they get closer to you, as well as just constantly threatening with drops, like things that you can do to buy yourself time to get your economy back. And he even dropped that second time and didn't get as many probes, but still got a lot. So, really quick, do you know if Biaxter is here? Okay, you're reaching out. I also went to message him, and it doesn't even show him online, so I'm going to see if I can send him an email really quick. And I'll check Discord too.
So while we're waiting, our next game is supposed to be Baxter. He has about 2 more minutes before we have to move on to the next player. But I think that was a great try for LML. um, the Nexus first opening into gateways was probably a different style that Gomdor doesn't usually see. Again, normally the fastest players will opt for Nexus into Forge with 2 cannons at the choke, and then follow it up into Fast Tech. Just because if they do go for a gateway heavy opening, it's sort of easily preventable with bunkers and supply depots at the choke. But then at the same time, sort of what LML did, sort of changing from the norm, I think, may have helped potentially, threaten Gomdor with something that he doesn't normally see.
Yeah.
I think Baxter, unfortunately, is a no-show, so now we'll move on to the next player.
Yeah, I will see. I gotta fix it on this. I should have been getting that ready. I did have a thing that was just labeled no shows. That's so funny. And we'll just put Baxter here. So, while you're getting that ready, give me just 1 second. For some reason, my house is freezing. So I was looking for my hand warmer and I can't find it. So I'm gonna look one more time for like 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Also, it is going to be $20 per win.
All right, I'm back. Thanks for waiting. Sorry. Are our players ready?
All right. So we unfortunately do not have Thanatos online as well, so we'll give him about 2 more minutes, but I don't see him online on Discord or Battle.net.
Okay. Well, that happens. I guess this is a good time to bring it up that we were thinking, well, never mind. Let's take stock of who we actually have here. I'm gonna tentatively move Thanatos to our no shows since he only has 2 minutes. I hope I'm wrong, but this is kind of what we're looking at now. So we're gonna be, if we move everything back up, then we generally have, so we'll have 4 extra games. Got to think about how we want to handle this. But next up is going to be if Thanatos doesn't, our one Protoss, if he doesn't get here, then Protoss player is here playing Darren. And I was chatting with him a little bit earlier just to kind of see where he's at. And he said he was considering playing Protoss, but he just figured with all of our other Battle of the Beehives that there's going to be a bunch of Protoss and he didn't want to do a PvP. So he chose Terran. And here we are. He gets to probably do a TVT just because, I mean, with the cancellation, then a couple of no-shows, and maybe we'll see if they end up showing up maybe at the end. We'll put them at the potential at the end if they do show up. But he did say he would prefer a TVT over doing like any other type of mirror matchup, and I totally get that. And with how good that Gomdor is against Protoss, maybe just being a different race that's a path less traveled will give him an edge is all. What's up?
All right, so it looks like Thanatos is not online, so we'll have to move on to the next player,
Which is Protoss player.
all right.
Unfortunately, not unfortunately about Protoss player, unfortunately that we got people who are either late or just complete no-shows. I'm actually excited to watch Protoss player play because I know this isn't generally his thing, but at least the one or two games that we have been able to watch of him, they've always been really fun. For me, they've been fun.
Alright, so Protoss player is in the lobby, but if he's not available within 5 minutes, we'll still have to apply the same no-show rules to him, so.
That's fine.
So we'll give him 5 minutes.
Yeah, and if we need to, we'll... maybe what I'll do is... message him on... Okay, he's here. Never mind. If we're going to talk a little bit more about Gomdor, I'm just going to regurgitate for people who might not know what you were telling me last night, how he does play with some of the best, if not the best, fastest players in Korea. And I mean, obviously that goes without saying that he is also Korean, but that he doesn't really stream or anything like that. And from what you're telling me, that his reputation is that he is kind of a quiet dude, but obviously that we've been able to see over these past 12 games, even just on our end, a really, really, really good player. And like he gets that reputation, he gets to play with the best players for that in Korea for that reason. So it's cool. It's cool to see that here as well. All right. In the, oh, their colors are so close. I'll probably do red and blue, but for now, let's actually do that. Because I, hilariously enough, was going to have it flipped. At 6 o'clock, bottom middle, it is our new challenger, Protoss player 22. And at top left, it is our reigning king on a 11-game win streak. It is Gomdor. Oh, God. So, I might need to... I don't know, that's too much for me. If anyone, let us know in chat if that destroys your earbuds like it destroys mine. If you're fine, then we'll keep going. But that wrecks me. I'm going to take my earbuds out next time. Alright, Supply Depot, barracks from Protoss player. And his barracks for Gomdor is pretty far down. Do you think there's a specific reason for that?
Just probably because for Terran, Marines are not the primary unit, so I wouldn't be surprised if as soon as he completes his barracks, if he doesn't see a scout, he'll probably just lift it right away. I'd imagine he just went for an 8 racks just to be safe in case of a cheese. But considering that there's probably no sign, okay, he's probably gonna make a marine, and I'd imagine he lifts it and has it straight to 9. You see this also in ladder as well amongst TVTs. Marines just, are almost moot against vultures. So common times you'll see Terrans just put their barracks maybe up against the edge so that as soon as they lift it, it's closer to, wherever they're looking to lift it towards. But looks like Gomdor is just gonna be safe and build a few more Marines.
Yeah, his factory's just a little bit behind Protoss players.
But one thing to mention is this is probably our first TVT in quite some time after the very short TVT we had between Terror and Crazy Mage, where it lasted about 4 minutes. So this is also going to be the first time we see Gomdor play TVT. So with the upcoming 2 TVTs potentially coming up, I think this is a great way to see exactly how he plays Terran versus Terran. And how our other players can potentially play against him as well. So far we see Gomdor going for just standard 2 fact build. Protoss player looks like he's going for 1 fact 1 CC or maybe fact port. We'll see what his next building is. Probably a fact. Nope. It's a slower second factory.
So I was going to bring up that when you were talking about how Marines are useless, and I do agree with that, I was just gonna say, I don't know, dude. The time that we watched, he needs to bring those Marines home before he loses too many SCVs. Oh, he might save this one. It's got 2 hits left. Woo!
Yeah, great save by Protoss player right there, spinning this SCV around so it doesn't get caught. Gomdor is hiding a Marine, I'd imagine, just to pick that off. But thankfully he already changed out the SCV, so he should be safe. But at least he gets a scout off.
Yeah, and if he's not careful, he'll lose that SCV down at the bottom, which it looks like he's going to. The forgotten
with the
SCV.
amount of money Protoss player has, I'm wondering what strategy he's opting for, because he has 800 minerals banked up. So is he gonna go for just a factory explosion? Is he gonna go for 2 CCs behind this?
He
curious
wasn't
as to what.
Sorry, go ahead.
Curious as to what he's going for, but he is also gonna have to be careful, potentially wall up with this supply depots. This is the part where knowing what the other player is doing, of course, is very important, and why you have barracks floating is eventually Gomdor with this 3 fact and eventually 4 fact will just be able to overrun Protoss player, even if he gets a tank out with mines. So this is why scouting is so important. He's going to lose this battle, unfortunately, and unless that is a tank that he started early, which I don't think so because his machine shop just finished, this may unfortunately be the game.
Yeah, so it kind of happened fast. I think what happened is, I don't want to, from what it looks like to me, and I could be wrong, it looked like a little bit of nerves. He was supply blocked a little bit, and I think he was really trying to micro and save his SCVs and his Marines, and so then it just cascaded a little bit. So we can ask him after the fact, but I do think that, oh man, this is so many SCVs. It is a tank, so maybe just leaving like just a couple SCVs to help tank for the tank, but there's Goliath already. Oh my gosh. And it is, what is it, 4 racks versus 2 because the other 2 never finished. He might still be able to get siege, but even if they start targeting SCVs, which looks like is what they're going to do, oh my gosh, they're just obliterating everything. So, yeah, that was just a really sharp timing, super clean from Gomdor. And although Protoss player did good at the beginning to just try to save his SCVs, his Marines, stuff like that, I could be wrong. I'll have to go back and watch the replay. I think he got supply blocked for a second. That's why he had such a big bank.
Yeah, unfortunately, sticking with 1 fact or even 2 facts, just because, I mean, with Terran, the idea would be that you're either looking to control with vultures or sustain with Goliaths. I don't really think Protoss player was familiar with that. judging by how he sort of stayed with the 2 fact for a decent amount of time, you sort of have to transition with either a starport or other more factories of your own. But like you said, wholeheartedly agree that it could be nerves, and that is a major factor when it comes to these type of games. So good game, great try by Protoss player. And I suppose we can now move on to our next Terran.
Yeah, and I don't think I really have too much to add to that. I think that I like the idea, and his build was even a little bit cleaner, at least in my eyes. Just theoretically, Gomdor was just not necessarily that it was cleaner. I guess I should rephrase that. Gomdor was being a little safe, so there was an edge to be had there. I think he was just trying to do at least if I were to put myself in that position, seems like I'd be trying to do everything at the same time, where Gomdor just knows. He just like, all right, I like everything's second nature about getting those factories up, the supply depots, and as soon as he had a lead in those vultures, like whenever I listen even to low money map tournaments, when someone gets an edge to the vultures, it's like when someone gets an edge with the like mutalisks or something. So it was a good try, and at least he didn't get stunted on with ghosts. Not that the ghosts won the game in game 1 either, by the way, but anyway. It looks like you're ready. Oh, nope, you're not. All right, so now we need Hydra.
So yeah, next turn is going to be Hydra, who, before we get the game started, I would personally like to advocate, or I'd personally like to cheer, or I don't know what the right word would be, but I firmly believe that he is going to be the next king, but we'll see.
You're going to show your bias like that? What? I can't even.
I've been a strong advocate that Hydra is the best non-Korean fastest player. So I firmly believe that he will win, but I'll make sure to leave my bias out of this.
The actual broadcast. I've only seen one game of his, but he is the man, the myth, the legend. I've heard a lot about him, not just from you either. And he's kind of, I don't remember correctly, so maybe I shouldn't say anything. I think he might have no-showed on one tournament, or he signed up really late, so we didn't have a spot for him. Because I've seen him sign up before, but for some reason it's never lined up for us to watch him. So I'm super stoked that we get to today, and I hope he doesn't make a fool out of you, dude. I hope it's not like a bunker rush into I don't know, like a quick GG. There's some sneaky fire bats. But with that being said, let's get into the game. In the middle left, or sorry, it's actually the bottom left. It is our reigning king with 12, technically 13 wins in a row. It is Gomdor. Okay, perfect. Now, in the middle left, it is, as I said before, the man, the myth, the legend, the one that I've heard so much about. He is our new challenger, Hydra. So, I only got to see the one game of him playing Zerg versus Cross, and that was a crazy good game. And I think it was super telling about how smart and patient of a player that he is, and as well as just being on top of his micro, his macro, like saving his drones, constant harass, the beating he's taken. But he was Zerg, and he was up against Protoss. Is like probably couldn't get too much more different than a TVT. Just about all the dynamics are different. Since they are right next to each other, I've seen Gomdor do it against Protoss. Maybe it would be hilarious to see here if he did float a barracks over to that 9 o'clock position once they scout each other. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't know there'll be anything like that. This is one last thing as I end my rant. this is a mirror of what we saw happen to Terror on our other TVT that we were just talking about before, where Marines weren't so useless. So I am curious, as this game gets going, if they scout each other that fast, if Marines will be just pumped out, and if it'll be a really short game again. Because it's trench warfare
Well,
right here.
They're going for identical builds. Looks like just standard factory opening. So neither of them are being particularly greedy. So unless one of them just doesn't make Marines, and also Gomdor is going to scout him first, I can't imagine Marines being effective. Probably just to deter the scout, but they're both going for a 2-fact opening, pretty standard. Gomdor actually is not building a Marine yet, so he's probably just going to see what Hydra's going to do or how many Marines he decides to pop out, and then just lift his own. And then just lift his barracks as needed.
Dude, Hydra already has, like, his units already like him better than my units ever like me. If I were in that position and I was trying to buy time with my SCV till the Marine got there, and I was telling the SCV to halt, and then that's funny, the Marine's kind of going out to chase, the SCV's leading him as far away from his base as possible, which is kind of telling in its own way. But he is just going for a cross scout, so that makes sense. If it was my SCV over here and I hit halt and rebuild or whatever, he would have just made sure to stand right next to that SCV until he died. If he could hurt itself as well, it would have. It could not wait to to kill itself to be outside of my army control. So Gomdor is making Marines though.
Is there a start part? So faster tech from Gomdor, whereas Hydra is following up the armory. So it's actually right now a great opening for Hydra. But the one thing right now is that Hydra does not know where Gomdor is and what build he's going for. So
Yeah,
I think
late
if
scout.
I think if he had known where he was, he could have maybe opted for a little bit of a pressure build. But we should see him now. But
Wow.
one thing to mention is, as soon as the game started, there was already an advantage inherently with Gomdor. The reason being is, when it eventually becomes a siege tank versus siege tank affair, as the siege tanks naturally siege, their cannons will already be pointing upwards, whereas when Hydra sieges, he'll have to deal with the tank spinning their cannons around for a split second. And if he doesn't siege fast enough, then he will almost always lose those fights. So what Hydra is going to want to do is secure that top cliff in between Gomdor and Hydra's base pretty much as quickly as you can to avoid that battle, and then eventually potentially move on to either the choke or the area between 6 and 7.
And that makes
Obviously
sense.
that's easier said than done, but
Well, yeah, for sure. And with you explaining that to me, that makes total sense why Gomdor is going for that fast starport, because now with these vultures being there, it doesn't really complicate things too much, but maybe a little bit. He's going for that air dominance and getting those tanks up there very, very early. And this is kind of smart too, what you're talking about, having the tanks' weapons pointing in the right direction, the cannons. If he targets that, oh man, no.
oh no.
He's gonna. Oh, no.
Oh, he's gonna want to
Oh.
run away.
He's gonna get away. Okay.
Okay.
Oh no, he doesn't.
A great pickoff by Gomdor. Wow.
Jeez Louise, he's not gonna
My
let that guy get
goodness.
away. That was what I was trying to say right here, is he got the dropship so quick because he scouted so quick that he's making sure that he has the ledge position. So this just got a lot harder for Hydra.
I wonder if Hydra's now going to put down 2 starports to potentially deal and take back air dominance, but right now he also has 1 machine shop. So he's going to have to be careful. Thankfully he has a side advantage, but there's 2 tanks against 1, so he's going to lose this battle. And now with the supply depots on the bottom, he's going to lose his supply, and this is the part where maybe not being accustomed to this kind of map could hurt him.
Oh
And
no.
oh no, this may be a slippery slope.
You might be eating your words. Woo! So he's not dead yet. It's dire though. Like you said, all these supply depots, the SCVs that he just got. He doesn't even have his original starport up. He is getting a second one though. At this point, Gomdor can just keep dropping and keep reinforcing with these tanks behind him. And Oh, it's pretty soon. Actually, he's got a while. The one benefit of losing those SCVs is he does have a minute before he gets supply blocked. But once these supply depots are gone, I think he will be. Oh, for sure. He needs to build. He start building them like right now. You're right. The advantage was definitely for Gomdor. These corner bases are something else, and he really knew what to do with that scout.
Yeah, and the Wraith is also a great pick. I think a lot of Terrans don't utilize the Wraith enough in TVT, where it can offer. I wonder where it's gonna go to.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yeah, Siege Tank, once it's Siege, still needs 2 shots to take out an SCV, so I think as long as it took out the one, it was gonna be fine, despite all the splash the SCVs took already. He does have 2 Wraiths up, or 2 starports up now, so thankfully he could take air dominance, but Gomdor already ahead of that, getting his 3rd starport while collecting Wraiths. And not only that, he has a 2nd command center, so even if Hydra does transition with Cloak, which he hasn't researched yet, he will pretty much be on top of that. So Gomdor is already ticking off all of his boxes while maintaining his economy. It's not terrible for Hydra. He could potentially take this with the nicely placed drop if he potentially goes down towards 6 and then to 7, which is looking like what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Although he may lose that upgrade. I think that's Goliath range, which is important to keeping that barracks away for sight.
That is, there's a lot of, I'll just say, fate has dealt him a bad hand, especially another thing too. As the tanks pop out, they are just direct, like in the direct line of sight of these other siege tanks that are already got their cannons pointed the right way. I don't know. He probably just wasn't thinking about it, but choosing... Oh, he's going to lose his factory if he's not careful. Oh, it's gone. Oh, barely, barely. I was thinking about that. I was like, he could still... Like, there's like 1 shot left that he could do. The one thing that he has...
Oh, so showing off
+1.
the Rape is actually great. But Gomdor sees it. Let's see how quickly he can take out the dropships and how quickly he can drop. Oh, no.
Ouch.
They one-shotted the dropships.
So he might get this barracks. I don't think he might be able to get it to this SCV, so that does hinder him a little bit. He can't make any more factories right now. Dude, he's even... This has got to be 2 tanks.
GG.
Oh my gosh, really? He's gonna... Oh, okay. I don't blame him. I think he could have kept playing, but that is such an abusive position, and I was really quick. I'm just gonna look. It looked like, yeah, he's getting science vessels and he's getting a radiate too. He had direct access essentially to Hydra's main. I don't blame him for leaving when he did. He did have a lot of tanks. He did still have some SCVs. I did notice that Gomdor did have that extra CC. He was gonna have scans. Hydra did have that +1 attack over Gomdor, and that was what I was gonna say was a saving grace. But I think that double drop that barely didn't land was like, all right, I'm too far behind on this one. This is a good game.
Unfortunately, the +1 would not change anything. You don't really see a drastic difference with that +2, because even with +1, the siege tanks would do 75 damage. And even though the siege tank does have 150 HP, it still has 1 armor, so it still needs 3 shots from a tank to die. So unless he was getting +2 very quickly, it wouldn't have changed anything. Plus, just the army advantage after he lost this drop, he was just going to get pushed into his middle line, meaning that the game was over. So, I don't blame him for leaving. But
everything you said, I agree with. I still liked how he had it, and that was like one advantage, that if he could survive long enough, it was a few minutes early, and yeah, but you have to survive to get that long. Anyway, continue.
Mm-hmm. Right, so our next game is now Terror, but in the meantime, it looks like Bayexter is here.
Okay, if he did make let's just put him at the back.
Okay.
We can as we get more players like in Germany and Philippines and Korea, if me and you want to stay up hella late one night to do one of these, I'm fine with it. Just we've mostly had like we've got like Peru and Canada, and then US has been a lot of our players. So sticking to this time zone seemed to kind of is the compromise for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss that later. But next game looks like is Terror, and he is ready and in the lobby.
Okay. Oh, so the reason why I brought that up at all was because I think Baxter is in the Philippines, and so just the time zone, or like just the time difference, could be why he wasn't here on time. That's all I meant. I don't know if he said anything why he wasn't here initially, but if it was really late or really early, anyway, that's it. Just maybe covering a little bit for that, and I'm on my way. I do think on this last one that Hydra got a little unlucky in a couple ways, where being in a middle base sucks, and getting scouted so quickly when you scout them like minutes later also really sucks, because Gomdor got in there so fast, already had a plan, and Hydra is still looking for him. So that's tough. Tough position to play from. And not to take anything away from Gomdor, he knew exactly what to do, and he executed it perfectly. He's like, I need to get this ledge, I need to take control, and then I can just keep reinforcing these drops, and we're good to go. So, all right, moving on to this next one, though. Baxter, not Baxter. This is freaking Terror, dude. Sheesh. We might need to switch. I guess we'll see how this goes. All right. Until then, we'll see how our latency and our lag goes. In the bottom right corner, it is his second TVT of our tournament, Battle of the Beehive. The new challenger, Terror. We'll see if he really is the Terror Terran. All right, in the middle left position, our reigning king. The wins just keep happening. He's been unstoppable so far. He knows exactly what to do, it seems like, in any situation, but there's a little bit of deja vu maybe for Gomdor at at that 9 o'clock. However, Terror isn't at 7, so not so bad. And Barracks in the middle of the map. Differences already.
Yeah, starting with an 8 racks. I wonder if he's going to go for a pretty aggressive push. I don't know if he's watched the previous game, but for anyone that needs a refresher, Terror last played Battle Beehive in 4, I believe, and then he was rushed, or I don't think that's the right word, but he lost to a 4x all-in after he went CC first into Fact. So actually going CC first against an 8 racks. So we'll see. Also the main difference was the scouting as well, and the previous player was able to scout him first, and generally Gomdor will do the typical 369 scouts. So he is sending out 2 scouts, but I think it'll still be a moment before he sees him. And also Terror, oh no, he's gonna go for the standard, or not the standard, but his standard 1cc Fact again.
Luck favors him a little bit because he did go for that 11-7 and now 3 o'clock scout. So he is going to scout him somewhat late, and it's 2 barracks for Terror, and he's getting his gas. So he is pretty fortunate if he's nearly scouted last to buy himself as much time as possible. So there's only going to be, 2 Marines, and maybe 3 Marines if they all were to rally and attack. And he'll know in just a second. It's just going to be 1 Marine. So, dude, Terror went from maybe the worst luck that you could ever have in the game that he played before to perhaps the best luck. If he gets away with this CC, can start pumping out units and maybe get a bunker before... Oh, gosh. This is still pretty dire with Gomdor's control. But Terra, if anyone could pull this off, it's him, man.
Yeah, I think Terror also, his marine control is very strong as well. Plus he went 2-rack, so it's not totally out of the realm of possibility of him defending it. Now the one worry he does have to worry about is Gomdor has a factory almost done, and meanwhile Terror's factory is halfway done. So he's gonna have to survive long enough with his marines as opposed to the vultures. So we're gonna have to see how great his marine control is. It's fine if he loses those marines because he's still able to back it up, and his SCVs will be able to drive him back. But again, the main issue is gonna be the vultures that's gonna come up. He thankfully does have a bunker started at the choke. He's gonna want to quickly finish that ASAP so he can prevent the vultures from doing more damage.
Yeah, he's got 2 bunkers, and he still has that fast CC, so even losing a few SCVs isn't that big of a deal. I do totally agree with you, though. He needs to, like, plug that hole, which is his entrance, and that vulture's already in. Oh my gosh, this is... I think he'll be okay, but more damage is going to happen before he stabilizes, and it can actually avalanche because these vultures are going to keep coming until he at least has the bunker up. Dude, he already got that first shot on the SCV. The Marines aren't in the right position, so he just loses that as well. I do still think that the game will continue, but this is... Okay, with his own vulture... There's 2 more.
He is actually... Terror is actually in a perfectly fine spot. The one worry is that he's gonna have to put his machine shop down ASAP because Gomdor is transitioning with 2 machine shops, and he should be able to keep up with the vulture count now. Although taking those initial hits isn't great, but he still should avoid huge loss. Because mainly his losses are a few SCVs and several Marines, but really with the build, he should have the stronger eco. But I would like to see him throw down a starport because really the main threat now is going to be either losing air superiority or the tanks. And getting a starport ASAP should remedy both situations. I would also like to see machine shops get thrown down, but I think he's more focused on getting his economy back up and defending for the time being.
Yeah, and not only that, his factories were delayed. Both of them were delayed. I would like to say their supply is even, which is crazy because he lost a lot of SCVs, and that is to say that Gomdor did lose SCVs because with that pressure he brought, what was it, like 3 to 4 SCVs, and then as he trickled in the vultures he was just giving away army, and that bunker is pretty clutch to be at the front like that. I do agree with you that a starport, which he does have, oh my gosh, he should those Marines are freaking brutal. Getting a Wraith I think will be super beneficial, and having that armory out obviously for Glass is really good. He's even got some vultures in on the other side of the map, so he's going to slow down some of the production on Gomdor's side. But Gomdor, this is a 4 tanks and 3 vultures. How are you going to beat that with just a few Marines and a few Goliaths?
Yeah, he's going to have to pretty much micro for his life and or wait on the Wraith. But if he can actually get right next to the tank, but the main worry is going to be the tank sieging up right next to the mineral line. Is he going to pull? Oh no, he's not going to pull! Oh no!
So, damn it. That was good. He used the Marine to get rid of those spider mines. He's going to get the barracks, but Gomdor is already up to 5 racks. He's got his second CC. I think the vultures on the other side that Terror had, I do think that they might have gotten some SCVs. I was too busy watching the attack at his base. Just a flood of vultures now after those tanks came out. That's a really good idea because he might just be able to overwhelm everything or just go and kill what's left of the SCVs. He got like 20 SCVs and there's not a ton to even to begin with. Great micro though. Oh my gosh, a trail of spider mines as he goes to just kill the economy even more. And he's not building SCVs out of both command centers right now either.
He does have a Wraith now, so he's able to see. Unfortunately, Terra just scouted Gomdor very late and couldn't actually get a good gauge of what his factory count was. I'm sure if he was able to see him a little bit earlier, along with rounding out the vultures, I think he would have been able to prepare for that a little better, but if he was able to pull the SCVs, I think he would have still been in a good spot. Unfortunately, I think he just got a little too tunneled on the tanks that he was able to get close to.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of, just didn't work out for him in that attack. But now Gomdor is just gonna steady out, slowly just raise his economy. I'm sure he's just gonna start sieging up at his base, tech to starport, get dropships, and then try to squeeze him out from there.
Oh, these might get caught. These wraiths. One gets caught, but it's not the end of the world. I like how he's moving his barracks up front. I don't know if he was going to maybe use them to wall himself in. And he does have that control tower, so maybe getting a dropship early would also be pretty good, so he could just claim his own ledge before Gomdor can. And Gomdor is even sending SCVs down, so he's going to start putting turrets up. He's really going to start encasing him in. So, oh my gosh, Gomdor got to see the dropship picking up, and so then he just went in for the attack. And I think the army's just too much. Look at all these tanks, dude. There's only like, what, 2 on one side. If he can get rid of the Goliaths, he might be able to clean up with the Wraiths, but that'll take like 20 years, so... Oh, man. GG.
GG.
Too clean, dude.
I think, based on the way Gomdor scouted Terror, it worked out in Terror's favor. Despite the initial attack with the Marines, I think Terror sustained minimal losses considering the attack. But I think opting for Goliaths was obviously the bad choice. I understand where it comes from, because if there is a Wraith coming, then that sort of kills him at that point. Or multiple Wraiths, that could kill him at that point. But I'd imagine the bunker could have helped him out, which then in turn he could have just opted for tanks instead, and then go for a starport. So I think that just hurt him a little bit, and then and just not pulling the probes or not pulling the SCVs. I think Terror had a good spot. Fortunately, it was just a lot of skirmishes here and there, and Gomdor getting that huge tank shot off that really changed everything.
Yeah, I do feel like momentum-wise, he was getting beat up a lot of the time, but that CC first was able to compensate for a lot of it. And then as I remembered that Gomdor also had to sacrifice a few SCVs or a bunch of SCVs as well to keep the pressure on. But everything that Gomdor does, there's a purpose behind it. There's a little bit of a reason, like constant, and it's obvious to delay the bunker and both bunkers, but not only did he do that, but then he delayed the factories, and then it just kind of ties into what you were saying, where maybe if he had the bunker, he would have been more confident just to go for siege tanks. And then I do think that Terror's macro is really good. Obviously, he's a very good player. It's just that he was so focused on that, he didn't see those tanks just very slyly move down. And in low money maps or ladder, not all your SCVs are... What's the saying? I don't know why I can't think when I'm trying to do stuff like this. I mean, I guess I do know why, but not all of your economy is literally on like one square. If someone gets tanks in, yeah, they can still, I mean, yeah, storm drops and reaver drops or whatever, but in TVT, tank drops theoretically can still go in and harm your economy, but it's not just gonna, like, if you're not watching it for like, I don't know, half of a second, you're gonna lose your entire economy, if not half of your economy. So I do think that was also the turning point. Openings aside, getting those tanks to the side and getting his economy, it was it.
All right, next game we have another ladder player. This case JY.
He's cool. I watched him, so I like to watch Terra a little bit. I watched JN a little bit, excuse me, and then I can't remember what I was gonna say. Dang it! Something probably about how we've just probably hosted each other a little bit, and that's about as much as I know about him. And I don't know what his fastest experience is. He is random, So we have a chance of a ZVT, and he's been able to watch, just as much as we have. So he's probably been able to learn and study a whole lot. If he does get Zerg and he hasn't practiced, that's going to be interesting to see. But as you guys will see in a second, we don't really have to worry about that, because at 6 o'clock is our new challenger, JY. That's Protoss, if I didn't say that. I think I did. So Protoss. He is Protoss. At the middle left position, also known as 9 o'clock, he is our reigning king. It is Gomdor, Terran. Let's see what their colors are this time. So it's actually magenta Terran, and I do like that a lot, maybe even a little better. And for JY, he specifically chose white, which is white Protoss.
I was pumped to see JY sign up, but I'm even more pumped now to see him play Protoss, because I believe while he used to main Zerg, he now mains Protoss. So we get to see him play his main in fastest, but like you, I'm not sure exactly how far his fastest knowledge goes. I'd imagine he watched a few replays recently, or maybe just try to keep up with what the meta was, but starting with the 2-gate, not the standard Forge, or I'm sorry, the Nexus Forge opening that we've been seeing. So let's see if he goes for a very aggressive play and opts to, force Gomdor to micro.
And he is scouting the right direction, so he'll see him pretty quick. And I do like this play. I get why there is the Nexus first into Forge, because you just get a couple cannons up, and that is so powerful. Your economy is so strong. But that's what I do like about these ladder heroes. I like the micro battles, and he also is on that smaller aspect ratio too, by the way, which is just always interesting.
Looks like Gomdor's gonna offer a 2-rack CC, and Jaehyun going for a 3-gate, and you see in response to that, that pylon being put down, he puts down a 3rd rack, so as opposed to sticking with 2-rack CC. So I think he realizes that it's going to be a pretty aggressive play. So now we get to see pretty much a battle of micro, although Gomdor reacts extremely quickly, throws down a bunker right in front of the pylon immediately. So
if he reacts quick enough, he would have been able to target down that cannon, I think, a little bit. Saw it running straight past the Marines. I think that makes sense. He leaves 2 and then just uses whatever comes out of his barracks to... Oh my gosh, he's attacking with that probe. He's going to lose it. He kind of needed that. I think he should
If he had gone for the gateway, then he would not have been able to react with the Zealots. So I think that was a good play, just sticking with what he can, and then eventually the cannon will be taken out by the range bunker, or by him just slowly pushing upwards anyways.
I should have watched that Zealot just a little bit more. I was really interested to see how much damage that cannon was going to do, and it turns out it was kind of a lot. And he's brought another probe. Just the pressure continues. I really like that. Oh my gosh, that SCV gets away with 2 health. And he cancels the cannon. Oh, nope, he's just going to put it back a little bit. I think this is smart, because he not only is he coming at him with this pressure, but Gomdor, what makes him so powerful is his scouting is really good, and he knows exactly what to do given a situation. So he didn't know he was going to go up against a Protoss, and then as soon as Protoss sees him, his whole build is different, because he didn't know he was going up against a Protoss, right? It was more of a jack of all trades build, I would think. And anyway, by the time he had found out, there was already a pylon in his entrance and just cannons and harassment from Zealots. So I really like this opening from JY, and he's going up to Cybernetics Core, see if he's going to tech past that. Crazy.
Looks like he's going to throw in a Robo facility and then potentially go for Reavers, I'd imagine, judging by the play. But right, I do agree with this aggressive play. We haven't really seen this out of any player so far. I would actually like to see him power that cannon, because I think that cannon can reach the bunker. Either way, I think we see something new that we haven't seen against Gomdor so far. But now we see Gomdor sort of go for his standard opening, where he goes behind with the CC in effect. He's blocking off well.
I was just going to say, the closest that we've seen was Gomdor's last game versus DeWalt on our last battle of the Beehive, where Dwalt did something similar, and he did get cannons into Gomdor's base, and it was, funnily enough, Gomdor was 9 o'clock then as well. But oh man, I would say this is potentially a more refined version of that, but we'll just see. You said it's probably going to be Reavers. That makes the most sense. That's the quickest that you can go for. The Robo Bay has been done for a minute though. There it is. Okay. So it will be Reavers. We'll just have to see if he does this any better than DeWalt did, because Gomdor did live. He got to where he needed to go, and then he was able to, at least the distance between the two bases on this one is a little bit better for our Protoss, with DeWalt being so close. As soon as Gomdor kind of broke his position inside his main, inside his own base, he was able to counterattack. Anyway, enough living in the past. Does look like there's +1 coming up. Shuttle's already out. He might be able to drop some zealots into the main, just do a little bit of harassment there, or probably just save it for the Reaver, which makes sense. Do you think he knows that that cannon's unpowered? I don't think he does.
I mean, at this point, even if he does know, it won't change anything. Even if he loses that bunker, it's really not that major. But what I like is Jaeyoon actively getting the spotting pylon out, as opposed to the previous Protoss game we saw with LML. The thing here is Jaeyoon's trying to pick off that bunker with the ranged goons. Eventually, when the range finishes, it will just be able to sort of target down the goon as well. But just something to get Gomdor's attention while he eventually techs up to Reaver. I wonder, judging by the amount of units that Jaeyoon has at the front, if Gomdor opts to siege, if he's just going to go in and look to snipe that tank, because the number of Marines in the bunkers do not warrant the goons to be scared right now.
If he knows, but I don't know. Just
Right.
seeing the bunkers, if he maybe ran up with a couple of zealots, now it's too late. I agree with you, that would have been sick before if he just tested the waters a little bit, then maybe got that, not necessarily for free, but nearly for free siege tank. The Marines readjust, so there's like the perfect amount, kind of waiting for a drop.
So he's going to go for a bust. Where's the Reaver?
Is this the equivalent of a bulldog? Oh my gosh, it's not shooting! The tanks, oh my. That's smart for him to back off.
So a Bulldog would involve the Zealot bombs onto the tanks, but
Oh, that's right, not just the Reaver.
plus it would have been way earlier as well. It would have just involved the shuttle.
Just an all-in, like just super fast, okay.
Yeah, sort of. But I mean,
Okay.
Jaeyoon didn't suffer major losses. He's still fine. He can still threaten with Reaver drops potentially, although I think that was good in getting his attention, sort of forcing the Marine pull there. And now he has to deal with the tank potentially coming in. Let's see if Gomdor avoids his power pylon. Jaeyoon should see it now, but
Yeah,
he only has 2 goons back at home.
he's got a lot of
And
cannons.
let's see how quickly he can pull his...
2 cannons
Yeah.
are, so he's gonna have 5 cannons in just a second. Oh, he's got 1 tank out. There's no way it's gonna siege. Woohoo. So that's the first time anyone today has really stopped the economy harass from Gomdor. So again, a good start. Gomdor still, in all fairness, I know everyone that we're kind of commentating on, or at least I'll just speak for myself. I'm kind of commentating from the position of the underdog, and it doesn't seem to matter who it is. They're coming up, they're the underdog, right? They're the challenger. On Terran's side of the map, he's fine too. Losing that dropship and those tanks does suck, but he hasn't really taken any losses on his SCVs either. He is getting to that position that we've seen him do a bunch of times that, again, I don't ever get tired of. I love seeing Biotank. I used to watch a ton of StarCraft too, and Marine Tank was really strong. He's got his next dropship out, his upgrades are going. He's even already up to science facilities, CCs. So Terran's still in a good position too. No one's really at risk at dying right now. I'm just happy to see someone stop his harassment.
So here comes 2 speed shuttles coming in.
Double drop.
He has Marine's position, but there's no stim yet. Oh, he takes out all the shuttles. Or at least the
was
turrets
ready.
take out the shuttles.
Stim was ready, at least right in time. That was rough.
One thing I'd like to see out of Jaeyoon right now would be potentially putting a spider pylon either near a middle line or gas, so that he can eventually pull probes sort of further away when the drop comes. It's not imperative that he does that right now, but I think eventually he will want to. But I'm loving the spotter pylons. He's getting a nice arc around the map and basically making sure that he keeps tabs on what Gomdor may be up to outside of his base. Meanwhile, he's expanding. He has 3 Nexus behind it. So both players are pretty much teching and transitioning over to the mid game pretty soundly.
Yeah, he's got 3 Nexus up. He's been building probes the whole time. He's got kind of a lot on that one gas at the bottom, but it's not the end of the world. And he, like you're saying, he's teching up just fine. He's getting a Stargate. He's got his Templar archives. He's continued making Reavers, and I thought I could hear. Okay, so it is the siege tanks kind of clearing out those spotter pylons. So he's just making more a little bit further down, making sure to keep Terran honest. It would be nice, not that it's a huge deal, maybe to kill that Marine at 11 o'clock. Just kind of going off what you're saying a second ago, that would limit Gomdor's his own version of being able to pull his SCVs away if there was a big drop, if you're able to get rid of that. He could still scan and run his stuff away, but that's just another action that he'd have to take. And he's going to lose that shuttle, but he might get those tanks. There's probably too many Marines, huh? Yep. So dang.
So this is the part where you'll definitely want to start tagging along with Corsairs. There's just too many turrets for the shuttle to survive for long. And the Corsairs can, of course, tank for the shuttles. I actually know nowadays Ladder has been implementing that kind of style where they go for mass speed shuttles and then couple that with a Corsair or 2 to tank the Sayer shot. So I don't want to say it's taking a page out of Fastest, but Jaeyun should be very aware and adept at that kind of play. So
yeah,
interested to see how his multitasking plus his speed shuttle play works out in a Fastest setting. But Jaeyun sort of transitioning well. He's throwing down pylons all across the map, just throwing down pretty much things just to see where everything could be. I'm sure eventually he'll also start building cannons in the middle of the base or middle of the map. Right. And he's also throwing down gateways around 12. I'm sure he'll start throwing down gateways at 5 or even 3 as well, just like as you should, to potentially threaten the flank as well. So
even though
Jaeyun is responding nicely.
Yeah, the one concern that I have, he has a lot of really good spotting pylons, except the ones that got removed, that is just a straight shot to his base. So that's kind of, maybe if he had an observer up there, that would be nice. He is building cannons. It is just kind of ironic or funny that the one spot that he probably needs the most vision is just the straight shot from Terran's base. But other than that, I totally agree with you. It did get scanned, but he is going into carriers. I can't imagine it being anything else. The fleet beacon being right next to the Stargates, and so he's probably going to look to be a little abusive with that. I think Terran will be ready. Terran doesn't have any upgrades on his tanks, but he's got 2-1 on his bio, so I'll take it. And
so one thing to note also is that he built another covert ops.
Yeah,
this time I can't imagine he's going to go for style. It's just going to be lockdown to prevent either an arbiter recall or speed shuttles.
Dude, if he is
successful...
no. Crazy
oh,
storm.
Nice. That was a great storm. Let's see if he's just going to beat him out. It's such a marine-heavy army that storm is going to do such damage, but at the same time, it's on fastest, so really the number of bio is going to be unlimited. So storm can only keep him alive for so long. Reavers and... yeah, Reavers may just be the play to go within speed shuttles.
Well, that and he doesn't care to lose the bio. The tanks are what you want to keep alive. So the bio is almost filler to keep the distance and the space away from his siege tanks. And those storms were just
Jaeyun
insane.
with some great storms right now, taking out the middle tanks. He thankfully pushes it back, which is buying him enough time to get some carriers and also freeing up a little bit of supply. But he also wants to make sure he doesn't lose or doesn't sacrifice too much of the supply into carriers and not have ground army to obviously push this army back and keep him alive for longer. Now, on the flip side, at this point, now I'm sure he has to worry about lockdown on the carriers. So he's going to want to build a lot of observers, and actually he doesn't have a lot of starports, so he doesn't have to worry about the cloaked race, but he's going to want to make sure.
I thought it was very interesting. Sorry to cut you off. I think it's just really quick, that it's interesting that he is choosing Ghosts as his anti-air, and he only has the one Stargate. And it's just going to pump out science vessels. Like And the other thing too is if anyone who also watches Artosis's channel, if he can use these ghosts, dude, this is a crazy battle in the middle of the map. If he can use those ghosts to like a good degree and counter the carriers with them, that is going to be so much ammunition for. Oh my gosh, these storms!
These are some great storms. Wow, Jaehyun's engagements and storms are very good, and I think this is what's sort of keeping him alive right now and buying enough time for the carriers to get ready.
And
I would like
too.
to see him throw down a few more gateways around the map, and looks like he's going to. But yeah, so far he's doing a great job keeping Gomdor at bay. Now, unfortunately, time is on Gomdor's side, where eventually he will get 2-2 upgrades and start making more of an impact on his tank shots. But yeah, so far it's looking good for Jaehyun, although he may want to go for a more impact play pretty soon to slow down Gomdor.
Yeah, I think he's getting EMP for his science vessels right now. Like you said, he's got 1-1. He's going to have 2-2 soon. Another thing that is good with just buying time from Terran's perspective is, oh my gosh, those... Oh, no, never mind, I'm an idiot. Oh, dude, he's going to lock down the freaking shuttle. But he needs something to be able to shoot it. He's only got 1 Goliath, at least with this army. I guess it'll help delay is lockdowns. He'll start getting energy for lockdowns versus something like the Arbiter or the carriers, or in this case, the shuttle. The fact that we're even seeing it is really, really cool.
Yeah, we're seeing pretty much all types of tech within Jaehyun right now. The carriers plus the Arbiters, but he's going to have to worry about the ghost, although there's not really a ghost nearby. But fat EMP on the Arbiter right there.
That was good.
But this is definitely the time to take advantage and take out the tanks. That's sort of the main thing the carriers are there for, is just to whittle down the tank count so that eventually the Dragoons and Zealots can't push against the Goliaths. But decent micro so far. The Goliaths aren't able to get in close. And Jaehyun does have a ground army, so Gomdor's going to have to be careful. He's going to unsiege like this and potentially push, because this attack may actually be able to crush his entire tank count. Oh, ooh, fat lockdowns though. So will the carriers be able to take out the tanks? And considering all the Zealots coming in, I think Jaehyun's going to be able to push this back. Oh man, he can lock them down, but is there anything to take out the carriers yet? No, I don't see enough Goliaths or Wraiths.
The ghosts are good units. He still has time with the lockdowns. It's not over yet.
Thankfully, there's still units all around the map. Gomdor has tanks over at 11, and then Jaehyun has Zealots coming down from 12. But the Goliaths are now getting in close, they're getting comfortable, and the lockdown maybe should be wearing off, but I think there's not enough energy on any of the...
He's got
There's not enough energy on any of the other ghosts.
He's got 2 more. He's got 129. Isn't it 100? He's got at least
it is
1
100.
more lockdown, and then he's got another lockdown in his base, and he's got 4 or 5 more just sitting by his CC. So he's got lockdowns, dude. This is the perfect use case scenario for how damn good lockdowns are. I have wanted to use it in the past, but I just didn't think I could ever make it work, and I still don't think I can make it work. But it's so badass to see someone else make it work. Obviously, he's maxed. They both got really good banks. Even JY has a big bank, and he's nearly maxed too. But I bet you most of it's in gateways. He is rallying down from the top though. I don't know, man. I think this is it. He's pushing in. He's gonna get on top of production. Goliaths have 2-2. More lockdowns. Oh my god.
GG.
GG. They're good units, Artie. I've never seen that before.
I think if Jaehyun was able to potentially supplement the carriers a little bit more with speed lots and storms, that would have been great play. I think Dragoons, while that is sort of the standard within ladder, I think Zealots and Storms would have been a little bit better, just so that they're faster reinforcements. But I think initially Jaehyun did a great job just keeping Gomdor at bay, getting his carrier count up, but I'm not sure if he was caught off guard by the lockdown or if he just didn't think they were coming. But it wasn't as impactful immediately until he lost his ground army, which, I mean, he took out the tank count thankfully, but the reinforcements are just a little too much.
Like I wouldn't be prepared to go up against that, As a ladder player, I especially wouldn't be prepared to go up against that. And hear me out. I know everyone's gonna, if he, and this is like by far the best showing. No offense to anybody else. He just made it the furthest along. He didn't, again, no one really is really doing damage to Gomdor's economy, and that's so critical in fastest, especially against a Terran. As Protoss, to like, you just got to try to beat him up. You have to constantly beat him up. If not, they're just going to get to just whatever tech and army size and whatever that they want, whatever their choice is. The part that I was saying, hear me out about, is no one's going to agree with me on this. If he knew that he's going to go up against Mass Ghost, using something like Dark Archons and feedback, I think would have been really cool. Or stasis, if he's able to get the stasis off on those science vessels, I think that would have helped as well. But yeah, I do think that, just like what you'd said, he'd locked down the carriers. That's a ton of supply tied up just doing nothing. And unlike stasis, it can be attacked. So even though there was a moment where we were both kind of like, well, he cleared out the Terran army, there's just not really much anything left, and the carriers are just sitting there floating, and with Gomdor's macro behind it, all of a sudden there was a ton of the right units. There was a ton of Goliaths and more siege tanks and everything else. He kind of stepped off the pedal when it came to his bio after the Ghost. I just need to use the restroom really quick. Maybe if Gomdor needs to use the restroom, I'll type in chat. Dude, I love it. I love seeing Ghosts used like that. They're one of my favorite units. All right, I just told him as well. I'll be right back. Crazy game.
Well, I suppose if we ever make a highlight compilation, that would be a part of it, the lockdown. But great game by Jaeyoon. I think that was probably one of the more competitive games that we had within a TVP for Gomdor, or against Gomdor. Just being able to, throw down with him within the middle, and actually get the carriers out, threaten the push, and actually almost push it back. But right, the macro behind it was just too strong. As soon as he lost his army, he must have had just his mech army queued so that it comes immediately after one another, and it's almost like he just never lost his army, right? And fast as you can remax instantly. There was a point where I think Jaeyoon was at 160 supply after his carriers got locked down. I'm curious if he was planning on replenishing his carrier count, or if he was just queuing up his gateways. I think if he was able to take a minute and then sort of max all of his army and then sort of attack all at once, it may have been good. Although thinking back on it now, it may not have actually fully pushed and taken out Gomdor's army at his choke. I think that was sort of too little too late. The Arbiter play, I think, would have been nice if he was able to stasis the vessels to prevent the eventual EMP. I think that just happened so quickly. I mean, his Arbiter got close at the SCV, or not the SCV, the Science Vessel EMP'd, and that was really it. The initial drops also could have been supplemented by Corsairs as well, but again, this is all just assuming that everything goes perfectly right. So, but again, I think Jaeyoon played admirably, and
I'm back.
It was probably one of the more closer games. Welcome back.
Talking about JY?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that lockdown was 44 seconds either. We don't ever get to see it, so. I saw that you guys were making. I grabbed a string cheese. We'll see if I get to eat it. I made a mistake and I didn't eat before we started. You were smart because you did eat before we started. I was just so hyped about today and getting everything ready. I was like, nah, I'll be fine. Here we are. And I'm hungry. Just watching these ghosts lock down carriers and shuttles making me hungry. All right. We've seen our one Protoss for the day. When we're done, we've had it. Must be Agster's Protoss, of course. But we're going back to our tried and true, our tested, what we love the most. A TBT. In the top left, our reigning king. He seems unstoppable. He might clear 2 Battle of Beehives. I guess we'll see. He is purple. He is Terran. He's Gomdor. And at 12 o'clock, top middle, our new challenger. So he goes by Silent Control, but he's been in Battle of the Beehive before as Sky. He is Terran, and anyway, it's Silent Control.
I actually misspoke earlier where I said that I said that Protoss player in Gomdor was the first TVT we've seen in a while. We actually saw Gomdor play against Silent Control last Battle of Beehive, so I think that game ended pretty quickly as well after initial vultures. So we hadn't actually seen a late game or mid game TVT from Gomdor until the game against Hydra.
Okay, crazy. That is something to keep in mind going forward. Right now they are mirrored, I'd say pretty close. And I guess we'll see which direction they both scout. I'd say Gomdor is probably pretty likely to scout 12 o'clock first. And hopefully Silent Control can just kind of infer from that where Gomdor is, so he's not in the dark for so long. I think that's one thing that these guys need is, as well as just a lot faster scouting to see what they're up against.
Unlike the game against Hydra, this time is sort of favoring Silent Control, assuming it gets to the game where it becomes about position where the tanks, again, as they siege, the cannons will be pointing up and left, whereas Gomdors will be pointing up and left, but then they'll have to turn towards the right. So it becomes about the battle within the ridge between 11 and 12. However, the difference is the distance between the ridge and the minerals is obviously a lot smaller or a lot larger than the distance between the minerals over when Hydra and Gomdor are playing. So Gomdor will have a little bit of a leash even if he were to lose the ridge battle. So let's see how they play out. I think, judging by the positions, Gomdor is probably going to opt for another starport opening, but we're seeing in this case Silent Control going for a 3-fact while denying the scout now.
Yeah, they both went for 3-factory, funnily enough. I was just thinking that too, since he didn't get that scout with that lead, he is opting for the 3-factory instead of going just for that really, really, really fast starport, and that makes sense. And it will be interesting, and it sounds like for someone who doesn't watch Fastest a lot, that wouldn't be that big of a deal, that the tanks have to turn their cannons to shoot. But you just win one battle along this ridge initially, and you'll just ingrain yourself there. And then we saw a couple of games ago how critical that is, just versus Hydra even specifically, because you take that, then you take the ledge on top of it, and you start dropping in front of it, and the game isn't quite yours, but nearly yours. The position of power is so strong once you take that ridge. It really is crazy, and it's super hard because the advantage.
Gomdor's actually taking an unfavorable advantage. He just lost his first vulture.
Yeah, I saw that.
And now it becomes a matter of attacking the Marines. I think Gomdor did a great job taking out that Marine. The Marine is actually the main DPS in a TVT fight. So
Yeesh.
Gomdor thankfully still has his one Marine alive. I think it'll be fine. He does have one more factory. So he is eventually going to outnumber, and Gomdor's responding with its fourth factory. You definitely don't want to lose your vultures, otherwise you'll snowball to a loss, which is often what you see in TVTs.
It's happening in front of our very eyes. He's got 1 to 4, 3 more just popped out though. But if he's not careful, he keeps attacking the fresh ones, and there's 3 red vultures. Oh my gosh, and that Marine has literally been a hero Marine. Dude, he's attacking the full health vulture again. Don't you want to attack the weaker one? The DPS was able to shoot like 10 more times.
Yeah, you definitely do want to target down, obviously, the weaker one. And now with the Goliaths out, he should still be able to survive. I think mines are on the way, so he'll eventually be able to sort of scurry them away. But in the meantime, you definitely can't really engage with vultures against Goliaths. Goliaths are just almost always win, even in this count as well. So he's just trying to stall until the mines finish. Mines usually don't take too long to finish.
I wonder.
Oh, it must have been speed.
First.
Oh no. This is tough. I think he was expecting a vulture versus vulture, but he actually didn't get a full scout off on Gomdor, so even with the starport, it's not looking good. I mean, he does have a tank out, but the Goliath is just going to jump on top of the tank, and I think the damage output is going to be too much if he doesn't get a control of this. I was expecting it to be mines, but I think Silent Control unfortunately sort of misread the situation. He sort of landed his barracks thinking that he was going to wall to avoid the vulture run by, but instead he just went for Goliaths, which actually just handles the vultures well. He's getting a nice repair off, but it goes down.
Dude, he is literally a madman. He was Ghost Man before, now he's Goliath Man. He's playing all of the units that, and it's interesting. It's all situational, right? Because I've gotten yelled at for going mines first, and everyone says always go speed first. Like, you want to make sure that you want to get your speed first, and then, like you're saying too, if it was a vulture battle, that would have made sense, because then you would have been way more maneuverable, microable, maybe even a run by would have been easier to have. Since they're so close though, just knowing exactly what to do in the situation, he had glass and just completely overpowered. Man, that was looking to shape up as, it was still a good one. I love to see glass being used that way, but I was hoping it would go on a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think the main point there was Silent Control not getting the scout off properly. I think if he saw that there was an armory coming up with Goliaths popping out, he would have reacted accordingly, either canceled his speed and opted for mines instead, or put down a second machine shop. But because he was looking to be the aggressor, and Gomdor instead reacted to that, it sort of became, Gomdor's his path to victory. The starport was a nice touch, though. I think I see where he was going with it, where eventually you could throw down mines on top of the factory, prevent the Goliaths from coming out, and then you sort of have free reign, and you can actually get a scout off with the Reef as well. But
well, so how would he have been able to scout in time to see that they were Goliaths instead of vultures? Because it happened so quick. It was vulture, Marine, vulture, vulture, vulture. Then all of a sudden it was like 2 to 4 Goliaths in his face.
I think he would have tried to maybe see what was going on with the initial vultures, but I mean, I think he was maybe a little bit frazzled with the initial engagement. He did take out the first vulture as soon as they met at their choke, but I don't know if he overestimated how many vultures he was going to have, or I'm sorry, underestimated how many vultures he was going to have, Gomdor, or if he missed on a macro cycle. I'm not really too sure, but
since I've had a second to think about it, or go ahead, finish your thought.
I was just gonna say, I think unfortunately something slipped up within Silent Control's macro, where he lost the vulture engagement, and then, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it sort of snowballed from there.
So I think no matter what you do against Gomdor, it's going to be hard. If I were to guess on, as far as your point of getting mines quicker, would be that he had his floating barracks, and so maybe you do just I like what he did towards the end, where he tried to wall off Gomdor's base a little bit, or at least like make it so Gomdor couldn't just start moving units into his base. Maybe having that floating, at the risk of even losing it, just having it floating more in his base to see what the units were going to be. But even then, not even just that the units are going to be, I guess it would be have it floating there to look for the armory and have that be your tell that it's going to be Goliaths eventually instead of just more vultures. I think that would have been the most direct way to tell that the battle was going to change drastically. And to your point too, since he was planning on being the aggressor, it probably wasn't a huge priority to wall off because he was, again, going to be the one attacking. So that was, again, that's even pretty new for me to see Goliaths just own like that. Those are another one that just kind of get clowned on a little bit. They're great units, but even when I watch in 3v3 fast, it's like, yeah, you don't really get Goliaths. You get Siege Tank and Valkyrie is like the dream team, or if you need some vultures or whatever. Goliaths, especially Mass Goliath, is in this case, it wasn't him stunting or anything like that. I think it really was just a direct response to just kill these vultures. Anyway, so, and Goliaths are really good at shooting down spider mines too. So I know maybe if he had like 6 or 8 vultures and he's able to lay down spider mines all at the same time, or if the Goliaths were already targeting the vultures, maybe the spider mines could pop up. But if he targeted well, or I don't know, that even is a little, I don't know, I don't want to say sketchy, but maybe a little sketchy too. So I'm learning a lot, though. I'll say that. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, the proper response to using spider mines against Goliaths would be to literally lay them out layer on top of layer, so that as soon as it pops up, there's 5 or 6 mines that pop up at once. And while Goliaths can take out spider mines relatively easily, depending on the quantity, it couldn't take out that much at once.
Right.
Of course, the downside is, in that specific scenario, there was never any spider mines, and he couldn't get comfortable anyways to lay down spider mines. If he did lay down spider mines, it would have been one after the other in front of the Goliaths, which at that point they would just be at either height or just target down the spider mines as they walk up to the vultures. The vultures just do so little damage against the Goliaths, whereas Goliaths, all they need is, I think, 8 hits or 7 hits. Maybe 6 or 7 hits to take out. It's 7 hits to take out a vulture, so it doesn't take much.
Yeah, especially when you got so many of them. And really quick before we get the game started, did you already start it? Okay, that's fine. We're breaking the fourth wall. We had a bunch of people follow. Thank you a ton. And I think it's Bacardi Micola. Thank you for using your Prime subscription. I do appreciate it. We usually save that stuff for the end. I was just gonna check in really quick. So our last one's Beagster. He's here. He did get moved to the end, but it might be a good thing. So he is random, but let me get back to OBS here. So he's random and he's Terran. At 3 o'clock, it's Beagster. Then the bottom left, it is our red Terran. Again, formidable, unstoppable, just overall, I don't know, Terran baller, fastest player, over the top, etc., etc. It's Gomdor. This just might be the Gomdor show. I don't know. He just knows what to do. I keep saying that, but I don't know how else to explain it. I don't have the words for it, so I'll spend some time on it, I guess. So this time around, Beagster, he's been able to watch all day. He's been practicing. He gets better with every Battle of the Beehive that we have, and I like watching his stream as well. Excuse me. And his gas was early, and I imagine his barracks is going to be going up very soon. Dude, I don't know. I don't know what he needs
Gomdor, to do. On the other side, is actually going for a CC first opening.
May as well.
I'm curious to see if Beagster is going to go for a standard 2-fact in response to this, or if he's going to go for a CC of his own. From what we've seen, I mean, obviously every game Gomdor's won, you've got to sort of mix it up, right? I don't unless you have something specific planned. It's hard to go toe to toe with him, it seems. So whether it be a proxy, whether it be a cheese, building 3 starports and overwhelming and preventing the scouts, I think something has to be done where these players are able to sort of pull something out of their hats. But it looks like right now, off the bat, is a 2-fact opening. And Gomdor is going to go for a 3 racks. Now, he doesn't really know what race Byexter is, and judging by that scout, he may not know for quite some time. But right now, Byexter is in a great position, judging by the build.
They need a shine build. When, as you were talking that they need to pull something out of their hat, they need a shine build. Because if it was me playing, I'd be like, I just need 1 win, and then I can go back to like maybe potentially versing a normal human being. And I don't actually think that's the case. We've actually had a lot of monsters play today. So that wouldn't work in my case. But if I were to just try to take 1 game, that's what I was thinking. And to respond to you about his opening, I agree that this is good. Gomdor went greedy, so he's at a build order disadvantage. Because he didn't know he's going up against a random, right? So he's finding out, since the SCV passed the Marine, if he was paying attention, just now he knows he's going up against a Terran. And I think all I was trying to say is it just depends on the scouting. How fast Byexter can find Gomdor is how fast he'll be able to put on the pressure with the vultures. How much pressure he'll be able to put on with, if he does go for tanks or Goliaths or dropships or anything, he has to find him. And this Marine's going the wrong direction. He's going to check 6 o'clock. So fortunately for Gomdor, he's had a lot of time, and I think he's going to get away with this CC first. It's similar to our Terror in Gomdor game, but Gomdor finding Terror very, very quickly and not stopping like his attacks, versus Byexter still hasn't found, I'm sure he's got an idea now, but he still hasn't found Gomdor. And Gomdor already has a bunker up at his entrance, something that Terror never got to get.
We commonly see Gomdor, if he doesn't scout his opponent after his first 2, usually goes for a double scout. I would like to see a little bit, or I would have liked to see a little bit more urgency out of Byexter in finding his opponent, because as soon as he sees him, he's going to realize that his mass vultures is now all for naught. It would have been better, actually, if he just threw down 3 machine shops and then just opted for a tank push, or go into starport, or put down the command centers so that he can take advantage and take an eco lead. But without knowing what he was doing, now he has these vultures, and unfortunately they're probably not going to be able to do much unless he just runs past and Gomdor doesn't see. But yeah, with the wall, it's just not going to be effective. And this is where, similar to the game against Terror, like you mentioned, you wouldn't want the tanks out and then just slowly pushing back the bunkers. And while it may not go for the kill, it is forcing Gomdor to respect the push. Now Gomdor is actually ahead in tech, although Byexter does have armory.
Yeah, his +1
He's also
will be faster, or armor, whatever it ends up being.
He's going to also want to throw down his academy first, just in case of cloak, but nothing coming out of Gomdor's starport yet. Oh, there goes a dropship, or controlled tower.
So double CC from Byexter. I like that. Where he's like, shoot, it's bio. He could probably guess that it was a fast CC. And then in response, Gomdor is taking his own 3rd CC. So at least he's like, all right, I got to out-greed this somehow. He needs an engineering bay and some turrets or something. I agree with that. Like you were saying, weren't you saying a second ago, he needs at least an academy or something for a comsat? But maybe I misheard you. Anyway, so yeah, it really is crazy what the difference is between just how fast you can find your opponent to what type of damage. Oh, and I was gonna say earlier too, he's actually lucky that Stim wasn't finished in time, because he would have lost even more vultures than just the 2, maybe 3 that he lost at the beginning. So it's okay. The reason why maybe me and you sound so dire.
For proxy starports. Oh, he is.
That's cool. So hidden starports, I like that. It sounds so dire because Gomdor gets to do what he wants, and that's not what you want. You got to go CC first, and he's like already back into mech. He's getting his dropships out. We know how dangerous his drops are. He already has enough tanks for it. So hopefully Bagster responds in time. Oh, just defensively. That's interesting.
That was a really fast science facility. I wonder if he's gonna opt for just
Radiate?
faster science vessels to irradiate, right? But we see a dropship loaded. Goliaths are ready, and this is the part where I was hoping to see the academy a little quicker so that you can get the scan off and see exactly what Gomdor is up to. Right now, he's just playing totally in the dark.
He does have Goliaths
and-
almost in the right position. Continue.
Yeah, and Gomdor is able to react to him as opposed to Baxter trying to sort of dictate the pace when in reality Gomdor is sort of matching him. Glass are in position. I think with the vision that Baxter has laid out, I think he'll take minimal positions assuming he pulls.
We'll see.
Yeah, there was minimal damage thankfully.
Just, okay, so 10 total. Not the end of the world. He's got 3 CCs,
Right.
not the end of the world.
Yeah, thankfully that was very minimal, and now he has 2 starports with control towers, although
other
if that was the
side.
dropship was gonna fly up to it. Is he gonna drop on top of the ledge? I think that'd be a little too naked, but
Without army to support it, I agree with you. He should have gone for a drop, except that other dropship just kind of brought the Goliaths up naturally, so... Ah, he got a tank. That's legit. He is going to lose everything. He could fly that dropship home if he wanted. Nope, it's not getting home. Weird.
yeah, he lost both dropships, and off of one starport, I figured he'd be a little bit more frugal with them, but there's a science vessel that's just patrolling at 6.
I think it's going to be used for radiate, but it might just be wishful thinking. Push out though coming out from Gomdor, so he's gonna take middle. I guess Baxter, he's got so many Goliaths, maybe he can't really contest that. Maybe it is better for him to. He's starting to move out. I don't know if I agree with this. Yeah, they'll do fine against the vultures as we saw the last game, but that's a lot of siege tanks, and he is starting to lay mines down, so it's not gonna be as simple.
Right, it would have been perfect if he engaged the vulture and as he siege backed off, sort of like what you would see in a TVP. He sees a science vessel coming in. I wonder if he's gonna pull the Goliath backwards. He is, and let's see if he's gonna catch this before the irradiate goes off. Oh, that was a last minute irradiate. Is he gonna
He's
pull?
not doing anything. He's scanned. He's gonna see that. Oh my gosh. He thought he got it. I don't
No.
blame him. They walked.
That was the last minute too.
Like, yeah, very last possible second, and the Goliaths took like 2 extra, maybe 3 extra steps that they needed to get those shots off. I know he wanted them to be like right underneath it, or maybe if just the turrets. Ah, dude, that was doesn't matter. Brutal. That was almost lucky.
So he's going in actually for a push as Baxter loaded his dropships and is sending them away. So this is the part where I was hoping instead for dropships he would go for Wraiths instead.
Agreed.
I think if he had gone Wraiths, he would have been able to surprise him with maybe 6 or 8 Wraiths or so. And that would have been able to clear out the tanks extremely quickly, possibly give him the edge with the army count, and sort of turn the tide. But I think now, with tanks slowly inching forward and potentially getting on top of the tank or factories, you know, the tanks are going to come out towards the right and the tanks are on the left. It's going to be much harder to get in position. So GG.
Yeah, I know it's kind of a meme, but I was just gonna say it was like 170 something supply to like 80-ish, and when it's that different and they're at your front door, it was almost lucky. I want to say that science vessel got there, but I don't know. It can't be luck if it's every single game, and like, and I don't mean that specifically, but you know, something like that. Like the first game, how the probe was just barely too late, and then just now at the science vessel, like very last possible second getting the irradiate off and obliterating the economy of Baxter. I don't know, man. That's crazy. I keep
Yeah, I
saying
mean,
that too. I'll learn new words.
a lot of people, not to say that he's equivalent of Flash, but a lot of people call Flash lucky because a lot of his plays, it did seem completely just lucky, where certain, you know, units went his way, or certain, you know, certain buildings or scouting went his way. But a lot of times, you know, it can be intentional, and we just don't see it or know what they're thinking.
Yeah, well, and how it works is, I keep saying this over and over again too, but he's got it mapped out. He knows what he's doing. His timing is really good. Instead of a drop ship, which is what someone's expecting, it was a science vessel, so he had to react to that too, and that takes a second to think, like, okay, how am I going to handle this versus a drop ship? Because running the Goliaths in a little bit further versus a drop ship is good, because then you're going to be right on top of the siege tanks. Then you look, you're like, oh shit, it's a science vessel, and now your SCV's got irradiated, because he even targeted the right side, the side that had all the SCV or most of the SCVs on it. So yeah, I wasn't taking away from Gomdor. I was just saying that was the timing was just perfect. I don't know.
All right, so it looks like that was our original rotation. Do we know who's up for game 8, or are we calling it here?
So that's I was gonna ask you about this, because we always find ourselves in this strange situation where we almost filled out a day, and then we just have a couple games left. I'm cool with, like, I kind of want to reach the 10 games, because like you put extra money in, so we should just get the 10 extra game, or the 3 extra games to fill it out. I guess we learn a little bit more. I am cool with just going down the list again and letting all the players have a chance. That only 3 players will be able to get a chance. So what does that leave us with? That's if LML wants to play again, Protoss player, and then Hydra. So those 3 can play again, since those were our first 3 losses, and then we can call it a day after that.
Okay. All right. So LML is next in line.
Going forward, we can adjust it again. I just want to try to be consistent. And Gomdor's asking how many games are left. It's going to be a smart ass. Like, I don't know, $60 worth. Sorry for how loud this bag of dark chocolate chips are.
All right, looks like he's here.
I almost joined a different friend, and I forgot his username is Small PP Rising. Maybe in the future, if we say up front, we're only going to play to the amount of new signups that there are, and then let people sign up throughout the tournament, and then that's fine, and then we don't leave people waiting to potentially play again. We just got to be upfront about it. Since I didn't say anything, I'm totally cool just doing what we did last time, which is first loss, first chance to play again, go down the list of whoever wants, you know, whoever's around, how many games we have left until we hit that 10, and then next time, whatever. And I'm ready. right, our first rematch of the day is LML, and we were talking about it a second ago, and after the intros, I'll actually get back into it. At our 6 o'clock position, bottom middle of the map, he is our reigning king, Gomdor. Whoa. As Terran. Over here, at the middle left position, it is our first Zerg game of the day. It's LML. I'm glad that we, for some reason, I was expecting the horn, even though I know it's only for all hail to the king. We were talking earlier, first game of the day, his probe was just half a second late to being able to see the siege tank drop coming in. Siege tank drop hit, and it was just kind of devastation from there.
Cinch with the 30,000 bits.
Thank you. That is so funny you put that. That's a very, very, very early birthday present. Dude, thank you. That's like $300, right? Jesus.
I believe so.
He mentioned it beforehand, maybe, but dude, that he was maybe going to be able to do that. Thank you so much. That's crazy. That's at least 2 more Battle of the Beehives. At least. You are the man. For real. Dude, that is... all right, I'll get back into it. That is super hype, though. Thank you, man. Okay, so with Zerg, do we know what LML's... I should have checked this before. Do we know what his main race is? If it is just random, or if he's got a higher win rate?
In terms of ladder, I believe he mains as Protons, but as to what level he's reached, I couldn't tell you. But looks like he is aware of the meta where you build a hatchery at the front, and that way you can obviously have less area to defend. He is going for 2 hatch pool though, so that leaves you vulnerable in this case to a bunker rush, as you're seeing here. And Gomdor is actually reacting aggressively, getting a factory on top of that. So eventually you can push with the Sunkens, assuming he makes it that far. But I think he's gonna lose a few drones. I think that's sort of inevitable. I would have liked to also see him save some larvae to build some Zerglings, but with the proper micro, he may lose 1 more drone.
He can run them towards the front, like towards those minerals at 12 o'clock, but he is just gonna hide them back with his sunk, the bunkers there. Hatchery's not gonna finish. Dude, all according to plan.
Yeah, unfortunately, you do want the first initial hatchery to be at the choke and then save a few, and then just go pool afterwards to be safe, just to avoid this kind of situation. I think he tried to go for a little greedy and he got a little unlucky with the scout, so it's not working out for him. It's not impossible per se, but now is the point where he's going to want to sort of slowly sort of sunken push forward, because he's going to already throw down a machine shop, and then as you may imagine, the tanks are just slowly going to inch forward until they get to the minerals.
And he's going to lose his overlord, so he's going to be supply blocked. I saw that happening like 30 seconds ago, where the second that he saw there was an overlord there, the factory just got lifted, already on its way, or sorry, not factory, the barracks. And he hasn't... Gomdor's not all in. This is super, super heavy pressure, though. He might be saving up for a command center now, but I bet you he isn't. It's just going to be 1 command center, and just into what you were saying. Maybe he will. I don't know. But just leapfrogging those tanks until you can start busting the mineral line. The end goal of it all.
Right. The primary purpose of the CC is, of course, not just for the SCV production, but also for the ComSat. You know, you want to be able to see what they're doing right away when you want to. And in this case, you're sort of undeterred. And not only that, there's no layer tech, so there's just, unless there's Burrow just with 70,000 Zerglings, there's really no threat of anything cloaked that he would have to worry about. So right in this case, he can really be as aggressive as he wants with just off of 1 CC. And as the tank gets closer, as they slowly take out the creep colonies, it's gonna be sort of a ticking time bomb for Zerg.
Yeah. Do you think... I don't think... No, he doesn't have speed yet either. So he needs to start... Oh, these lings are just going to get evaporated. He's targeting perfectly with that siege tank to take out this Sunken before it even starts. He actually kind of has a pretty big bank right now. I think constantly targeting down the tank. He might get one, but that's the problem is he needs to take out everything else too. 2 more tanks show up. It's like a Hydra of tanks. I don't...
Right. I think as hindsight 2020, this can get... I think the best play in this scenario is just to opt for just speedlings, throw down 3 hatcheries at the top of his base, and then just speedling all in.
Just kind of a move in, clear whatever you can, right?
Right. He just can't get comfortable and tech as much as he wants. He's gonna lose his drones.
Overlord's in a great spot.
Most likely, right? But the Overlord is covering it, which
yeah.
I love that. But I think at this point the DPS is too much, and he's just gonna get further and further in.
Like everything is just positioned perfectly, and he finally does target down the hatchery, which then gets the drones on that side. He could have just, well, it wouldn't have been wise to move the drones from their position because they would have gotten hit even quicker. I think it's cool of him for staying, just see if you can maybe clear a little bit. Maybe would have been smarter, like you said, the hindsight, GG. Hindsight, not just a GG, but would have been to accumulate the lings as Terran was building up, and then just go for that 1-2 punch. You have to kind of clear everything at once because he was taking out a little bit of tanks at a time, and then he's just reinforcing with more tanks, and there's enough supporting units that the tanks just kept multiplying more and more and more. So it was a great try, I still think. And we'll just move red LML over to this side as I kind of very hastily update our match list. And
so Protoss player actually mentioned that we can skip him.
Okay.
So the next player I believe will be Hydra.
Okay, so Hydra and then maybe Terror if he's around.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, give me just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that LML stuck around. I'm glad that we got to see another game from him, and that we got to see a Zerg game.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Thank you for all the random players willing to go random.
And it really has been a Terran renaissance, not just because of Gomdor, but we had like 1 Protoss sign up, didn't even show up, and then it's just been Terran and randoms, and it's so cool. I think we've had a couple of random as Protoss, but no straight up Protoss signups. That was game 8.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, almost done. Even then, I still think that's a good learning experience. Even if not for him, it is for me. Just if you are in a 1v1, you random a Zerg, you have to get your hatchery up. You have to keep your choke. And we watched that game of Hydra last night where he, I saw, dang, that was a lot of attention on the choke. And you were like, okay. Anyway, how you were just saying how important it is to keep the choke as Zerg. So the one replay, so I should say my one really high level ZVP that I've been able to watch, at least recently, in the 1v1 sense, was he did have a ton of sunks and he did have his hatcheries and it was walled off, and he was so sure to keep that because we see what happens if you don't. The bunker gets up, you have to cancel, you go back, Terran just goes straight into tanks and they can push your face. It's different than Protoss, so they can do that with Reavers. Anyway, now this is going to be very interesting because we were just talking about Hydra playing Zerg last night. And what was he the first game of today?
Hydra? He was Terran. He picked Terran.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did. He picked Terran. I was like, I'm looking at it. It's blue. For some reason, I thought he was randoming. I was like, oh, this is interesting because you random as Terran. Even though he picked Terran, he was Terran the first game. He's at 6 o'clock. Dude, we've had so many people spawn at 6 o'clock today. It feels like almost every single game someone's here. So, bottom middle, white Terran, it is Hydra. For his rematch against the King, the Tyrant, I had our unstoppable king. It is Gomdor, middle left. I had all these like gracious, grandeur-esque words that I was gonna use to describe Gomdor, and they all got like they all tried to come out at the same time, and then my brain just like stroked out. So instead, we get none. That's fine. He knows it's gonna be Terran. We know it's gonna be TVT, so this is gonna change how Gomdor plays. And we've seen a lot of TVTs today, so it should change how Hydra is gonna play, as well as Hydra is in a much better position, not quite the opposite position as they were before, where Hydra was at 7 o'clock. Where Gomdor was at 7 o'clock and Hydra was at 9. Now Hydra being at 6, it's a little different, but all those little things that Dizzy was saying. And also another interesting thing is to show why Gomdor scouted this 7 o'clock position so quickly, because he needs to know if what he did to Hydra in their first meeting together, if that was going to happen in reverse, if he needed to worry about tanks and dropships being like pumped out super quickly, just trying to battle for this ledge. He does still scout Hydra really quickly, and there is a barracks in the middle of the map with a Marine already heading down. There is a Marine that is going to come out for Hydra, and again, the pressure isn't going to be on so heavily. Dude, there's going to be 2 more Marines though. So I wasn't sure if Hydra was even going to go for like a fast CC maybe, because he was kind of floating a lot of minerals, and it ended up being just 2 factories back to back. But this is already scary. He's having to defend with his SCVs. He's waiting for more Marines to pop out. They're constantly targeting down the factories. Factory on the other side is starting for Gomdor. He's already losing SCVs. It wasn't a fast CC, so all these SCVs that he's losing, like, this has just gone bad to worse. I hope that he can stabilize here, but this is just a full-on Marine force, a squad, if you will. Oh man, these SCVs just kind of pausing for a second. The micro is so good. He hasn't, I don't even know if he's lost a Marine yet. Dude, and he's still killing SCVs. This is just a massacre. Jesus Christ. So there's 2 super, super red Marines, 5 kills. There is 8 SCVs left total for Hydra. I will say the game that we watched last night, okay, so he's protecting the Vulture coming out. So he did get beat up on the one replay I got to watch, and he took a lot of time, but he was able to come back and slowly will his way back into the game. In this case, with someone as good as Gomdor is, with that aggressive opening with the barracks, I was going to say factory again, he had to cancel his second factory. Gomdor is going to freaking pump out 3 Vultures. Oh my gosh, he's going to lose that initial Vulture too, and he's going to lose the Marine. And these other guys start going the wrong way, so they're going to be able to jump on this Marine. He's got like no army left. I mean, maybe a bunker would have been good to have, but he's like leading with an SCV. It's already 1 shot away. I don't want to call it before it's over, but he is super, super dead. This was just a bludgeoning. I don't know. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Damn.
GG.
420. GG. Dude, it was almost 420, and it's almost 420 for me. It's 418. If only we could have started it just a little bit later. It all would have lined up perfectly. And then I sat for a minute, so obviously we're at 442 now. But anyway, I don't know how much of that you got a saw, but Gomdor went for a fast Rax, and he did what he does. He started with pressure. It never ended. He teched behind it. His micro was so good. He wasn't losing any Marines. He was killing a bunch of SCVs. And then when he had that lead, there's just there's no way he's gonna let it go. It happens super fast. That was game 9, right? Yeah, that was. All that being said, I'm happy that Hydra played. I'm happy that he played again. I don't know what I want to say about like what I think it might take to defeat Gomdor. I like him just being essentially the top of the 1v1, or like being at least one of the top 5 or top 10 of the fastest Korean scene. It's really showing. And I don't like, you just scout the middle of the map and look for barracks, but he doesn't do that every game. Like scouting, just finding out what Gomdor is going to do. As much as we said he can be a reactive player, you really have to scout this guy and see if he's going to go CC first, or if he's going to go for a barracks in the middle of the map, because every second is so crucial. Anyway, let's see if Terror's still around. I don't know if you've able to message him or not.
I'm reaching out, and so we'll give him about 4 more minutes, and if not, we can move on to JY.
Okay. I didn't do a good job this time at telling them that they might be able to play again, so that's also on me. It, in my defense, not a very good defense. I actually don't. It is on me, so not in my defense at all. Things just kind of got messy a little bit, where we had some people drop out and some people like Thanatos not show up again, plus all the new ones that I just kind of wanted to wait and see how it went out. Yeah, if JY is around, that would be a good one as well. I'd kind of like to give Terror another chance. Obviously, with being fair, I don't want to give him any extra time. What I mean by that is it would be cool if he was around and he wanted to play again, because I just know that he's a really good ladder player, and if he just had a game that he could maybe kind of do what he wanted to do, it would be okay. The only 2 that I've seen him play, I know you didn't want to say it's really a cheese on either account, but just heavy pressure builds, I guess, that don't really allow him to play the game that he wants to play. So for him to be able to just have a quote-unquote normal game, whatever that looks like, maybe where he doesn't just get Marine all in, like 4-axe Marine at least, and then, or today, the Marine Vulture, just crazy micro shenanigans of the siege tank harass, getting all of his economy. Something that is a little bit more normal from that, I'd love to see. But anyway,
The 8-Rax isn't too totally uncommon. It's sort of seen as a broken build and ladder just because of how strong it is, but in fastest, 8-Rax is not uncommon. I would actually say it should be sort of part of the norm, just because you're not cutting any SCVs and you can actually make the barracks. It's just that oftentimes players will sort of try and play as greedy as possible so they can get as much advantage as they can. But Gomdor mixes it up well. He goes for the greedy, and then he goes for the barracks 8-Rax, and then he goes for the greedy, and then, you know. So I think that's the change-ups is sort of what's confusing all the players. They're expecting, obviously, a greedier play, and then coming back, and then receiving, you know, sort of aggressive builds. And I think that's exactly what happened to Hydra.
Yeah, and it's also situational, because if he's at that 9 o'clock position and he scouts 7 o'clock, or sorry, reverse, if he's at 7, he scouts 9, that changed his build completely. That, I think that's, he's had the first 2 games, one was that PVT, and then one versus Hydra where he did go for that fast dropship with the double siege tank. So that's something that he's capable too, depending on what he sees when the game starts. Scouting. And I don't, maybe that's not the full answer even. I just think that's to help other players have a more even start. And a lot of players, and that's, people haven't even been doing a bad job either. So I'm not saying that, because there's a few, even JY is a good example of like sending the probe. And I don't know if he sent out a second probe, but then sending a zealot out. Anyway, so All right, Terra's not around. He's
Yeah.
probably Audi 5000. So
I think a part of it was because he goes 8 racks every time he's in the 9 o'clock position. So JY is asking if he can change his race.
ask. Let's just, since it's a rematch, historically I would say no. Let's ask Gomdor if he's okay with it. And I forgot to update the graphic. He is. Oh, sorry, I never transitioned it over anyway. I was so focused on talking and whatever. So, he's at 19. 19 wins plus an extra $50. So he's gonna be, if he isn't upset by JY, then he'll have made $550 off of just this tournament. Did he say it was okay? Did Gomdor say it was okay?
I just asked.
Okay. All right. Wait. Oh, wait. No. He could have. He said it was okay.
Yeah, he picked.
Oh, he did pick
Protoss.
instead of. Okay. He was random, and I thought he wanted to be random. But this is fine. So, let's bring it back. He is. Instead of random, he's picking Protoss, which he randomed as Protoss the first time. I was going to leave their colors up. I'm not going to do that because it's going to be too hard to tell. Again, our 6 o'clock position, it is our now red Protoss JY versus our reigning Supreme King Leader Terran in the 7 o'clock bottom left position, Gomdor. I'll never get used to that, I think, or never not think it's funny at least. So JY is really pumping it out. Gomdor looks like he's about to go to sleep with his 170. He's like, man, can you just give me my freaking money? We gotta get me up to $1,000 on this, easy peasy. And JY is looking to upset, at least based off of something that really isn't that telling at all. As their APM,
They're both gonna go for a Nexus CC first opening. Interestingly enough.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that Gomdor didn't do some crazy like tech build because they're right next to each other.
I think because he's spawning at the corner position, he's preferring the CC first opening. Interestingly enough, when it's PVT in adjacent positions, at first you'll see the Protoss have the early advantage with the close distances, of course, with either the gateway units or the shuttles coming in so much closer. But then as the game goes by and as the Terran stabilizes, you'll see, of course, the Terran has the advantage with the tanks. Able to just ridge and slowly pick off the Protoss. But it looks like Jane's opting for a more standard build this time and threatening a cannon rush. I doubt he's going to actually commit to this. There's just nothing behind this to save or protect the cannons, but looks like he's just going to follow up with the Cybernetics core, see how he's going to react. There's no SCVs being pulled, so he's probably just going to cancel this as soon as it finishes and then throw down a cannon or two.
The bunker started and he just canceled and walked away, and I think that's fine. He's actually going for a double bunker, so he's being very safe, not knowing that it's a Nexus first behind on the Protoss side, and he didn't even build. I guess that's fine. He didn't even build a cannon though. We've seen Gomdor's micro. I think a Zealot should pop out in time. I don't know. If I don't see a cannon, I'm worried. I guess it's just an SCV, but false alarm. Oh, that's cool. He didn't finish the second bunker, so he could cancel it. continue going on his plans. He's going up to get his gas, probably starting his academy. He is. So very standard out of Gomdor. And so JY will follow up with. I think he should probably build a cannon, right? Guess he's fine. They're both fine.
At this point, I think it was sort of unnecessary. I would have liked to see him build the cannon a little earlier, maybe slow down that third gateway. Although actually thinking back on it, he may be in a little bit of trouble unless he has a few zealots coming out. But
I'm not crazy. I felt like I was crazy for a second. I was like, oh, I guess they're all just gonna hang out. But no, he's got a Dragoon, and there's 6 Marines. He's gonna have to pull probes again. But there's not a clean way for him to do it, and he's just gonna target down as many probes as he can get. Sheesh, this is goodness.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the game just popped. Yeah. GG.
There's greed, but that was really greedy. I was trying to bring it back for a second, but I was like, man, don't you want, like, we've seen what Gomdor does with his pressure at the beginning of the game.
I think if he had delayed one of his gateways a little bit so he can put down a cannon, not only to prevent the Marines, but also just to deny the scout, that would have been a better play. But yeah, I think he was trying to be a little too greedy, potentially look to kite with his Dragoons, but probably wasn't expecting him to fully commit to the 3 racks. Maybe he expected a quick transition into factory play, but yeah, after he lost the 5 or 6 probes, it was sort of tough going.
Yeah, there's just so much there. I guess maybe since you are going up against someone who is now the record holder, by the way, for most wins, because I can't remember how, I thought DeWalt was like 17 total overall, and 17 wins overall, and he didn't fully clear any one Battle of the Beehive, but anyway, he's very dominant. Gomdor has now taken the record, and he's cleared what's it called again when someone joins a tournament the first time and then wins? I think that's a bonjour, but then what would they call it?
That's a Royal Rotor.
Yeah, Royal Rotor, that's right. So he definitely was that in our very prestigious tournament. But now he's won 2 in a row, and if he does it again, if he wins 3 in a row, I can't remember what the title was for when you win 3 in a row. Back to this
There's no title for it. They were just given the golden mouse.
Oh, is that what it was? Unless you were Flash, then it was the golden ruler, but that might have been after 5 or something. I can't remember. Flash
5 was supposed to be a diamond mouse, I believe, but no one ever won more than 3.
Well, they did give Flash a golden ruler. I remember that, even if it's just a gag.
Yeah, that may have been a gag.
And someone can correct me, but there's something like that. It doesn't matter. So that, really quick, that last game, if I were to break it down, he saw the 3 racks, but I do get what you're saying, that you kind of have to just assume that Gomdor's going to do something and then start cutting a lot of corners. I think since he wasn't the one putting on the pressure, you got to be kind of defensive. The Nexus first into a few gateways, the cannon was kind of almost ready. They're scarily slow, like they are they can kind of trick you at how slow they are. And I know, like, we already all know this, but I'm just saying it out loud anyway, as they're even finally like phasing in or whatever, the animation takes forever. So I guess I just, with a lot of things today, I'm trying to find the right way to say this, I like the idea that was there, and I do things would have been a little bit different if he had just gone just a little bit more defensively, since he was kind of being greedy on the back end. And I think that the Marine move out was just opportunistic. I think if he did see like a cannon, or if there was a few Zealots or a couple Dragoons, then, because if he did have like 3 or 4 Dragoons, or I don't even know if 2 would have been enough, but at least 2, maybe there's a fighting chance. But if he did have just more than 1 Dragoon and a cannon that almost finished, like you said, there was some micro potential there. But he just walked up, it was the right time, killed the cannon, walked down, Dragoon can start taking pot shots at your Marines, but at most it's going to kill maybe 1 or 2, and the second it stops, you can start to gun it down. Then you just got a bunch of probes. So just kind of an unfortunate end, a little anticlimactic. They had such a good first game. Things just didn't go to plan, obviously, for JY at the end there. But I'm glad that we got to see a rematch. And I don't know, the more games that Gomdor plays, the more there is to study. And I know we don't have like a crazy amount of money or anything like that, but we sorry, my wife walked in for just a second. But if people are motivated and they want to, they can study these VODs. They can learn more about Gomdor, and he does change it up though. So he's really, really good. Sorry,
I think I was gonna say, I think just I can appreciate that everyone try to play not necessarily the same thing. They probably saw that it didn't really work per se if you just play straight up standard, and they try to do something, you know, different, try to see what could work. As we saw with Terror, as you saw with Jane just now. And you know, eventually, just like with DeWalt, I'm confident that someone can or could eventually beat him. It's just gonna take some time and practice, most likely. But thanks to everyone that played, and hopefully we'll see everyone back soon.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I'm just telling everyone in the BattleNet chat. I'm just gonna say. I'm just gonna message these guys that are still here really quick, and then I'll just kind of, just as I've been doing all day, just kind of build off of what you were saying. Really quick while I'm doing this, which I do want to know before we wrap things up, did you have a favorite game today?
My favorite game would probably be the first Jayun against Gomdor game, the PVT. I thought, obviously the highlight is going to be the Ghost lockdowns, but I thought Jayun was probably the most competitive. And then seeing everyone, or seeing basically all the units be showcased, was fun to watch. And outside of that, yeah, I think everyone had some good games and fun to watch.
For sure. He utilized a lot of units we don't normally see. So if we think about last time, he used fire bats a lot, which we don't really get to see, and he got a lot of probes and stuff with that too. And then today, those ghosts were that ghost game was so fun. That's probably got to be my favorite game too. Just because we don't ever get to see it. Using the Goliath the way that he did, just utilizing every unit, dude, the Wraiths, even though he used that in the Battle of the Beehive too, the Wraiths to counter the siege tank drop, every unit that man touches, it just uses it immaculately. Yeah, so you didn't ask, nobody asked, but that was also my favorite game. We always hear, and it was just so topical because everyone's always getting after our Artosis to use ghosts, and he just tells his chat how stupid they are, how dumb they are. And then we see how masterfully they were used today. And I know it's like, you can't even compare it, but it's so funny to me. But as you were saying too, I'm just super grateful that we have people that are interested in playing, and that even anybody wants to watch, and that we could even have rematches today. That they would throw their hand in again to go up against Gomdor, that he would wake up so early that he would, and then LML, because he's in Germany, so I think it's like, I don't know if you want to say it's still super late over there, if you want to say it's super early because it's so early in the morning. And then for you and for Cinch and for Rob and everybody who donates to these tournaments, that allows us to make it happen. And yeah, I was gonna say something along the line, just to what you were saying before, that you do think that there is someone out there that could potentially beat him. I think maybe. I think that we're gonna have to rethink how we do things here on the everywhere but not Korean server if someone does want to take him down, or they do need to come up with something very, very specific for Gomdor. And it is also really cool that we get to see different games out of him too, and he has shown a light on, before him, the first 4 Battle of the Beehives, it just, like, you'd hear me at least, or whoever, maybe people in general as well, just kind of complaining about how powerful Protoss is, because like just the storm drops and the reavers and the DTs and the cannons and all of it, the aggressive zealot openings, like it's all can be so abusive. And then you see, I guess, Terran in the right hands of somebody, and oh man, everything's flipped on its head, and Terran just looks so unbeatable. But yeah, I don't know. It is really, really fun to watch, and it is also fun to watch these other games get really close too, especially even in that JY game where he had really good storms, and of course Gomdor's macro is really good, but there was I don't know if he was like at risk of like fully being broken in, but he was just trading really, really poorly, and JY had gateways all over the map, and his transition to carriers was good. Anyway, so there's potential there too. Yeah, he is our undisputed king for now. I'm gonna like buy a dictionary and learn some new descriptive words because he's on the tear for sure. So, all right. Do you want to wrap things up? You have anything else you want to say? Well, maybe we go look for somebody to host by any chance.
Yeah, thanks everyone for playing, and I have to eat my words from what I said about thinking that Hydro was gonna win, but I think if Hydro were to play again, I think he'll have a better result next time.
A better understanding too, and everything. I agree, for sure. And that was funny. I didn't want to like put it back on you too much. I was gonna tease you a little bit, and I do appreciate even in a second game, you have to just kind of make assumptions and maybe just take extra risks. That's what those last 2 games were. So anyway, I'll double down to you. Just thank you, everybody. And I don't actually see, is there anybody on that you like? I guess there's Crossy. So let's just host them. And another huge shout out for just the sub today, the new follows, and especially that huge donation from Cinch. Thank you so much. I think I'm just going to stockpile that money that you guys have all donated and just kind of pad the next few tournaments with those. And all right, I will get these VODs up as soon as I can. I'll see you guys next time. Oh yeah, and good thing since I was talking, we can just cut me off.